Right, guys, a lot going on today. Boy, oh boy, do I have some stories I can tell you. Uh, One is I got a package in from Reaper Models. They're metals, and that means slaughter bases. And I don't care for the Reaper slaughter bases. I don't like that. They're too big. They're 32 mil bases, and they really, if Reaper had any brains, they would throw some of the old school Games Workshop slaughter base style in, which would save me the time of cutting their tabs off and drilling a hole in and all that sort of thing. Um, okay, let's look at the chat and put the invite in. Okay, come on, chat. Hey, Daniel, how you doing? Happy Monday, man. I hope you're doing great and you're getting all the sports highlights right. I haven't really watched any sports, so maybe I need to go to your page and catch up and see how whatever. I mean, I've got teams I like. I don't know. I always end up doing something else besides watching them. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to hate me right off the bat, but I mean, I'm a Bruins fan, so you know what I'm saying? And if that makes somebody hate me, you know what? I respect that because they're not wrong. A lot of Bruins fans can be a little much, but and yes, that sweet Caroline all the damn time. But yeah, I'm a Bruins fan. Of course, I love all the Florida teams. I mean, let's be honest. Florida has been kicking ass in hockey over the last, I don't know, half a decade. I mean, Florida, but we've got great hockey. You wouldn't think that we have great hockey programs down here in the Sunshine State, but we do because we got people down here that hire the greatest, instructors and whatever. We've got gigantic auditoriums full of the ice and Zambonis. So you can come from the frozen north or Eastern Europe, right? Move into a nice house somewhere in Florida, enjoy the sunshine, and just drive to the freaking barn, throw your gear on, do your practicing and whatever. What is up, my brother? So that's what a lot of people don't understand. So my wife had this documentary on, and I was watching it earlier about the chances of Alberta becoming a state. And apparently, I need to talk to Bear at some point. But I guess part of the Canadian Articles of Confederation, there's a clause that says that under certain circumstances, they can immediately just become part of the union. Right? And Bear would know this. Bear grew up there. Bear would know. Or any other Canadian in chat would know. But what they're saying, though, and I believe it, is if Alberta manages to separate itself from the Confederation of Canada and then join the United States, it would become the second richest state in the United States. And of course, I'm like, on the one hand, you don't want to snipe players from your bro's team and shit. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be a gentleman. But on the other hand, as an American, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so what you're telling me is you have this giant chunk of land. Almost everyone in this giant chunk of land is conservative as hell. and it's full of oil and heavy metals and minerals, and like it's just a treasure trove. And at least 40% of the population right now wants to join us. I mean, I gotta say, I would go with that. Sorry to my Canadian brothers, but you know, if it ever comes down to Alberta becoming the 51st state, I'm going to agree with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be like, yeah, welcome aboard, man. Time to start remaking American flags so we got another star on there somewhere. But I was really surprised when the Canadian guy they were interviewing pointed out that they actually have a clause in their Articles of Confederation that says that any province can join the Union under certain circumstances, just with like, I was like, I didn't know that. That seems kind of weird. Like, you would have asked us about it, but apparently they figured that shit out all by themselves. So, brother, you popped in, but then now what? I mean, is that it? Is that what it is? You're just gonna pop in and say brother, and then like, I don't know, do nothing? That doesn't make me happy. But yeah, but apparently the Albertans they're interviewing the majority of them are pro. They call themselves staters. And they even got guys up there that wake up every morning and say the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Because basically they feel like they're constantly being mistreated by the rest of Canada. You're in the middle of a quest. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I can't really, you know. What's up, Cooch? What's up, Deckard? How you doing, bro? Well, when you get done with your quest, if I'm still on, I was just talking about the Canadian Statist Party in Alberta and the fact that part of the Articles of Confederation of Canada involves the fact that they're allowed to, under certain circumstances, to just join the Union. It's currently I've been painting some octagators, which are alligators, but they have octopus arms on them. Maybe for an alien game or hey, there's Bear. He knows more about all this.
Yeah, I heard you put up the Canada signal.
Well, I was watching an interview, and they were interviewing a lot of people in like Alberta, and apparently a lot of Albertans are talking about secession and becoming the 51st state, and how if they did, they would become the second richest state in America. And they're also really mad because they're over 50% tax rate now. And they say the East does nothing for them. It just takes their money and tells them to, you know, get bent. And they hate that. Plus, they had a map, except I guess in Canada, when a region's conservative, you guys color it blue. And on this map, all of Alberta, except for one neighborhood in Calgary, I think they said, was freaking blue, conservative. And they're just so mad because of what the East keeps doing.
So I lived out west for a number of years, and one of the things that happens out west that pisses off a lot of people is that when we have a first past the post election system in our Westminster Parliament here, right? So as what happens is, by the time the polls close in Ontario, because of the amount of seats Ontario and Quebec have, the election is decided. So people out west always feel like their vote doesn't count for shit. So the only reason they're voting is to sort of show what they support in the area they're in, right? And sadly, it sucks to be them because they are keeping this country alive with the money and being treated like shit.
Yeah, I guess they said they raise a lot of cattle, they grow a lot of wheat, and they got a shit ton of oil and mineral resources and all that.
What's up, everybody?
So, and you do have your independence ones that just say, no, let's become an independent country, but buddy up with America. And then you've got your, let's just become a 51st state. And they're talking about how a lot of them would get a lot richer because they would immediately go to the US dollar, which, is worth.
Well, the taxes would
really
drop
weird.
for sure.
Oh, the tax. Yeah. 50% and above. That's, well, you told me,
I'll tell you this right now. I've made a decision in my life, which is I'm not going to be in Quebec as of this time next year. July 2026, my lease is up here at this apartment. And unless I'm suddenly rolling in cash because my job is doing well, I'm the fuck out of Quebec because I'm tired of paying the taxes. I'm tired of being a second-class citizen. I'm tired of all the bullshit we deal with here. And I'm either going to go east down to the Maritimes, but if this whole Western separation idea actually seems to be showing way more than just lip service, and I start seeing it being a reality, I may go west because I'm done with this fucking Eastern Canada, Quebec, Ontario bullshit.
Yeah, are you going to become an American, Bear?
Never. I will never become an American.
No, he'll be a Canadian living in an American province.
Yeah, there you go. I'll be like Alberta will be like Puerto Rico North, right?
Yeah, it's not like you would have to give up your culture or anything. I mean, we're
I
and we all have our own culture.
The one thing I like about Canada is the protection we have of our people in our society. Things like lease protections and just little basic quality. Like you can't fire someone without cause or reason in Canada. Every province has some sort of worker protection in place where your boss just can't come in one day and go, fuck you, you're out, bye. Or your landlord can't show up one month and say, fuck you, your rent's now $500 more a month or shit like that. Like we have protections in place that not all American states seem to have. In fact, you guys have that right to work state bullshit mentality.
Blame Disney for that shit. Blame Disney for the right to work state.
Florida,
whatever the case may be, is that we have protections here. Certainly when it comes to our fucking Medicare for the cost of prescription drugs. Those are things that I take seriously now that I'm in my 50s. I don't look at America as the fucking promised land because I'm young, energetic, and eminently employable. You know what I mean?
And that's what I was going to say. Florida might be the right to work state, and it's also the state where if you ain't got a job, you're not looking.
Yeah.
Because everyone's hiring all the time. Bear is a proud snow Mexican.
Well, it's funny. When I worked in the film industry, they used to refer to us as Mexicans who spoke English when they shot here.
So, yeah, I guess. I mean,
but for me, I prefer the little bit of social networking and safety netting we have in Canada, though they're doing their best to get rid of it. I still want it.
Oh, they'll do that pretty soon.
Right?
Barry, you're going to have that pretty soon.
I can't hear you, man. You sound like you're underwater, Vic.
I am?
Like your mic's too far from your face.
Can you hear me now?
Can you guys hear him clearly? I just hear like he's under. It's weird. Hey, Charles. Anyway, all I'm saying is that if Alberta becomes associated with the U.S. or the Western Canada becomes its own nation, that's great. I'm happy for all that. That's great stuff. But I would never move to a U.S. state unless it was like.
I just cannot. I saw a Canadian talking about your Articles of Confederation.
Yeah.
And how you have a clause where a province can just join the union.
So what happened
was just like, what?
So what happened is that's not really in the Articles of Confederation. That person's mistaken. But what it is that Quebec, when Quebec was threatening to leave in the 90s, they fell all over themselves to keep Quebec in, and they created this idea of what they called a distinct society for Quebec to qualify as, and then it got furthered by making them what they called a nation within a nation, right? So Quebec views itself as its own nation. But they also added something called the notwithstanding clause, which allowed Quebec to, or encouraged Quebec to sign the Canadian Constitution, the Canadian Bill of Rights, and Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that they can at any point in time say, yeah, we're not doing that, notwithstanding. The thing that I like about Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta right now, is she's like, wait, all provinces now have the right to the notwithstanding clause. So she's throwing it back in Ottawa's face now of going, well, you want to do that, but that's not going to be withstanding for us. You know what I mean? And they're getting pissed about it. That's why they fucking hate her so much.
The Albertans that were being interviewed, one of them said that it's funny you bring up Quebec because this guy did. And he said when Quebec was thinking about it, they were getting sent love letters and all this stuff. He's like, we mention it, they call us traitors. He's like,
by the way, Deckard, you have no idea what you're talking about when you say that. That's American right-wing bullshit. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta are as conservative as Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota. They're very.
Alberta might as well just be North Montana.
Yeah, they are very conservative. Now,
they
British Columbia,
very, very conservative.
The interior of British Columbia is very conservative, but the coast is very liberal.
One guy said the main reason they didn't want to join the United States is because they watch TV and they see all of the bullshit going on in Portland and shit like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, we don't want that up here. So they're actually having the excuse that we're too liberal for them.
Yeah.
Well, so you got to understand, guys, when you get to the coast, right? So what they call the Lower Mainland, which is where Vancouver is, that is very Seattle. Okay, very Seattle.
The rice pot and some plates and forks, bowls.
Can you if you're gonna talk, turn your mic off so that you don't jack everything up.
Look at how I love Hungar. Anyway, the interior of British Columbia and heading eastward until you get to the Ontario border and even Western Ontario are fairly conservative. They're very Christian. They're very sort of community value. They're very much about those things. You're going to get a little bit of liberalism in the urban centers. You always do. That's what urban centers do. But the rural areas are super, super conservative. Super conservative. I mean, for Christ's sake.
If you work on an oil rig and shit like that, and you're a blue collar guy, you're probably not going to vote for a bunch of crazy shit.
But what they've done in the States is a lot of the super right wing pundits have sort of tried to portray all of Canada as this big liberal fuck sandwich, and it's not. You know what I mean? It's just not.
Of course not. I mean,
now if you added Ontario and somehow managed to get Quebec in, then you'd be adding a shit ton of Democrat votes for sure, because they would never side with the Republicans.
Yeah, no, the other province that was talking shit was actually Saskatchewan.
Yeah, Saskatchewan's pretty fucking conservative and religious. The city that I was thinking about relocating to, which is called Regina, the city that rhymes with fun.
It rhymes with fun.
Exactly. Is the Bible Belt. It's the Bible Belt of Canada. Like it's where all the Christians, and so everything's very Christian out there and stuff like that. And when I was a young man, I'm like, well, that's just stupid. As an older man, I'm like, oh, that sounds calm and relaxed.
Like, I don't have to worry about people busting into my house and stealing shit. Getting mugged.
Yeah, I was like, man, it'd be cool to live downtown in a condo and shit. And now that I'm older, I'm like, man, I love living out in the country away from just everything, with a population of like 20 people.
Yeah.
That's my dream too.
The biggest city nearest to, and that's still 30 or 40 minutes away from where my mom lives, has a total population of 12,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in a town of 2,000, right? Like the town I grew up in was 2,000 people. And, I grew up in a small town, and there was farms all around us and all that kind of shit, It was cool. As a young man, the city was the place to be.
Bear, I have the question for Bear. What do you think the odds are of this Western separation?
Very low.
Yeah, I think low, but it's a dream.
It's very low. I mean, it will
Green
happen
bacon man.
eventually. It will happen eventually. One of the things that's interesting is ever since Alberta started talking about it, my best friend's married to a French woman, and they watch the news in French all the time, the Quebec news. And ever since Quebec started talking about this, the Quebecers are getting all up in arms, and they're like, well, how can Alberta be separate before we're a country? Well, that's stupid. So they're causing Quebec independence to kick in now and start rising up again, and that could be a catalyst that changes everything, right? So it could be something that twists, that sort of turns the worm for Canada, but Canada can't survive. We can't. I've gotten into arguments with Canadians about this when I say to them this simple question: define Canadian culture, which you all claim to say is so important, without using the following things: hockey, Tim Hortons, politeness, or how much we're not like Americans. Go. And they can't. They'll go, well, we have Italian, that's Italian culture. We have Greek, that's Greek culture. We have Polish culture. That's not Canadian culture. There is no Canadian culture. It does not exist. It is a myth, the idea of Canadian culture. There is a people, there are the Canadian people, and there are Canadian ideologies, but there is no Canadian culture. You guys have a fucking demonstrable culture. It's terrifying to the rest of the world.
We got like 12.
But no, we have that overarching America, we're number one, you know.
Because we got Florida culture, which
You
is
have
totally
subculture,
different than
yeah.
California culture.
But
Right?
you all have that July 4th mentality, right? You have
Oh,
that
well,
fire
yeah, we're all
over-
ready to go to war at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, there we go. Indian importation and Chinese ownership. Yeah, that appears to be the culture in Canada right now. There's a guy, I'm going to send you the link for a guy that you'll probably like, James. He's a little more right-wing and a little more, you know, borderline racist, I find, but he does a lot of videos about the current state of Canada, and he did one about the excessive amount of Indian immigration that's going on here from India, and it was pretty interesting.
Satya apparently says Finland's going through a heat wave. And
Well,
all I can
like-
say is, Satya, maybe somebody pissed off the trolls, you know, those little white
Yeah, but
trolls you guys got
when
over
they
there.
have a heat wave in Europe, it's like 75 degrees. Okay, they can take their heat wave and stick it up there.
No, and they had that one deadly heat wave in England. It was like 85 degrees.
Oh wow, 85 degrees. That's like a Florida winter.
Okay, Hungar, it's currently 91 degrees in Montreal, and that's low. We've been up as high as 115 this summer. In my office, it's currently 85 degrees in my office.
The
And
funniest thing I saw is they were
You
talking
need to
to
tell
a
your
farmer
neighbors
bear.
downstairs to turn off their heat, Bear.
They have they have a heat exchange down there, so they're actually getting cold air.
They had they're talking to this guy who owned a big cattle farm, and he's a stater. He actually has an American flag flying on his house. And they're like, how would you feel, though, about getting rid of Celsius and the metric system? He's like, can't wait, hate it. I was like, God damn. I was like, this guy's already, you need to move to Texas, bro. You were just born in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I mean, Canadians can, you guys are as different as we are, depending on the region. I mean, you guys got a lot of shit going on up there.
We just don't have that fucking overarching bonding, you know, Americanness that you guys have. We don't have a Canadianness. You know?
I think it's because
okay, hang on, Shark.
to be independent.
Shark. I spent 9 years with a Punjabi Sikh woman. We almost got married and had kids. Okay, I love Indian culture. I love Indian food. I love everything about India. I enjoy watching Bollywood movies. But there's a difference between Indians who came here and assimilated and became Canadians versus the flood that they're bringing in on work permits right now, who have no onus to become Canadian, have a job waiting for them right away when they get here, and don't give a fuck, and are just acting like they're back in India. That's a problem.
that's interesting. Me and James was talking about the same thing last night about some of the people over here in America. Is like this Mexican woman who'd been in America for 25 years selling tamales, who didn't speak English. If you're going to be in a country for
And
25
years, they deported her. But the thing that pissed me off wasn't that she was in the country. It was that she was here for 2.5 decades and never learned English. It's like,
if you're going to live in a country, if I move to Japan, I'm going to do my best to learn Japanese.
just
And they're still going to speak. And they're still going to speak English to you.
Yeah, because Japanese, if they know you speak English, they use you as a English teacher.
Well, it's not just that. I had a friend of mine, she taught English in Japan. She speaks fluent Japanese, like she's done translation work. And when she was in Japan, she would walk up to someone and say, excuse me in Japanese, I'm trying to find, this place. Would you tell me how to get there? And they would look at her in Japanese and say, "Oh, sorry, I don't speak English," and walk away. Japanese can be pretty fucking mean when they want to be,
Oh, Japanese people are the most racist people on the planet. That's why I feel like I'd fit in there.
I don't know. I think the Germans still have a hold my beer on that one. I don't know. I got to work that one off for a while.
Yeah. Here's something that I think, Bear, you'll get a kick out of. My wife and I, when we sit down to eat dinner, sometimes she puts a show on called Surreal Estate.
Okay.
And it's about a guy who goes around. He's a real estate agent, but he also gets rid of ghosts.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So if there's like a haunted house, he'll go in and try and figure out why and talk to the spirits. And like 9 out of 10 of the houses he went into, the people in the house, the couple in the house would be, something paneer and something, and it was like almost every house was Indians. So after watching like 20 episodes, I finally asked her, I said, "Is this show made in Canada?" And she's like, "Yeah." "Why do you ask?" I said, "No reason." But literally everywhere they went, everyone is Indian. And it's just like, okay. I mean,
so just west of Toronto, there's a place called Brampton. Okay. Brampton used to be white trash as fuck. Okay. Like, I'm not even kidding how white trash and trailer park it was. Now it has 5 new names. Brindia, Bramladesh, that's 3, and Browntown. Okay. Like those are the names of the people who live there who are brown, call it, And when I was out in Vancouver, when I first went to Vancouver in the 90s, there was an area just outside of downtown Vancouver, it's one of the suburbs, called Surrey. And when I went there in 95, a Surrey girl had blonde hair, teased to the sky, and an inch of blue eyeshadow above her eyes, right? That was a Surrey girl. Now you go to fucking Vancouver and say, "Surrey girl, thank you very much." Like it's changed, right?
So your Surrey girl sounds like a Valley girl.
Well, they sound like a Bali girl. So what they did was
Bali girls.
Yeah. So what they did was they moved in, and these were legal immigrants, which is good.
Right.
They moved in and they found these depressed neighborhoods and started buying houses, and just sort of moved into those neighborhoods and sort of found themselves taking them over, gentrifying them themselves, and turning them into productive parts of our cities. Nothing wrong with that. Not a fucking goddamn thing wrong with that.
Hate gentrification.
Yeah, but not a goddamn thing wrong with that.
Because it's like, so what you're saying is you're against people taking a slum and making it a nice neighborhood. Yeah. That seems like stupid.
Well, okay, but for example, my buddy's wife's cousin owns a couple of Tim Hortons up in northern Quebec, up sort of some areas up in northern Quebec. And she took advantage of the government program where they'll basically bring in workers for her and subsidize their salary. But none of these people could find places to live, right? Because they didn't speak French, and they were FOB, right? Fresh off the boat. So it was cheaper for her than to pay them more so they could rent houses together to go buy a couple of apartment buildings and then fold in their cost of living into their salary every month. And that's how the government's been treating this, is like they're subsidizing this behavior so that they bring in more and more and more. Why? Because the liberals have figured something out about these fucking immigrants. They will vote liberal.
Because their community leaders will tell them going on.
So what you're saying, Barry, is that if they come in FOB, they automatically right away get voting rights?
No, they have to spend 2 years before they get their PR, right? Which is their permanent residency in Canada.
Yeah.
Once they have their permanent residency, they have voting rights.
Damn, 2 years.
Yeah, welcome to Canada.
2 years ain't nothing, man. I know when my nephew moved to New Zealand, it was like 7.
Yeah, no, they've made it real. The liberals really, it used to be longer. It used to be like 5 years, but the liberals changed everything in the last 15 years, and there were 10 or so years in this country. And they did it because they fully embraced the idea of block voting. which was basically be friends to the ethnic communities so that the ethnic leaders will tell the people in the ethnic communities to vote liberal. They also got in bed with the Chinese Communist government, so the Chinese Communist government, every election, does really crazy shit in Canada that would be election fraud if anyone bothered to investigate it, but no one ever does, to suddenly have all the Chinese votes pushing towards whatever Chinese liberal candidate is in that area. This country is cooked.
States,
it's
if you
done.
go with a green card, you still don't even get the vote till you get your you swore in. Why would that doesn't make sense?
Well, it's because
Well, I mean, the world's weird, man. That's all I can say. The world is strange. A lot of strange shit happening. You know.
Now, let me double check on the if it's they have to get PR first before they can vote. Yep. So here it is, right here from our own Elections Canada. The table below provides an overview of the way Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and non-Canadians are permitted to, under the Canadian Elections Act, to participate in federal elections.
Oh, Jesus. No wonder why they're
New Zealand's crazy about that shit. It's
so
like
permanent residents are only allowed to vote in provincial, not in federal elections. That is a correction I need to make. But that still gives them a lot of sway and power.
Right. Well, because, I mean, provincial or local, that's where the real shit happens.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so they're allowed to basically put a lot of sway on that. So once you get your PR, it's a pretty short road to citizenship in Canada. And then there's all the fucking Ukrainians we gave citizenship to because of the war. They all left. They came here and went, what? How much does it cost to live here? What? Fuck that. We stayed until they got the passport and then fucked off back to the Ukraine.
Yeah. We're going back to Poland. Because apparently Poland lets a lot of Ukrainians in.
Yeah, so
we got a ton of them here in Minnesota. We got a ton of them up here. They're buying houses and everything else. So.
Well, Ukrainians?
Yep.
Well, good for them, but they can probably make a life in the States. They can't make a life in Canada, man. Nobody can, dude. When I used to teach, I had my students were all new Canadians, right? And I had this one guy, Kizito. He was from Kenya or Cameroon, one of them. And he arrived in the summer, and he was complaining one day. He's like, "You fucking Canadians, you're so weak. You pay for everything. Everything has to have a license. Everything has to. You're so weak. You don't do anything, you Canadians." And I was laughing. I'm like, "Okay, man, no worries." Middle of January, he comes and he's like, "You Canadians are so strong. How do you survive this weather? How do you live like this?" It's like, yeah, well, that's what we pay the taxes for normally.
Now that the Supreme Court has ruled that we can just send people to wherever we want now. And they're talking about sending Mexican illegals to like Gabon, Liberia. It's like, what? That's just mean. You know, you're going to dump a busload of El Salvadorians in the middle of Liberia, they'll get ate. I mean, you know, they eat people in Liberia. Calm down, man. But hey, whatever, man. Yeah, they released a new rule today that if anyone so much as throws a rock at a cop car, the cops are supposed to jump out and get them. So, you know, the days of rioting and attacking police vehicles are over. You know, we'll see how it works, but that's.
Oh no, you guys are on track for a civil war. I've been saying this for 20 years.
I won't be impressed until they release the freaking lists.
You will never see the Epstein list.
Nope. Too many countries.
Never in a million. You're never going to see the Epstein list. You're never going to see the Kennedy documents. Never going to fucking happen. They will walk a motherfucking Martian down fucking Madison Avenue before you'll see any of those two things. Fuck.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's neat. Where's the list?
Yeah. You'll be the only one because the rest of you is like, what the fuck, Martians?
Yeah, the rest of us would be like, fucking Martians? What?
Meanwhile, Hunger's like, release the list.
If there's a hill I will die on, it will be that fucking list.
Who killed Kennedy? Release the list.
I don't
Dude, Martians.
I don't get that.
Die on that hill because I understand that not only could hundreds of incredibly powerful people be on that list, but entire nations could be involved.
Good.
I mean, we
Release-
know England, probably Israel, God only knows who else. And those people might just try to JFK Trump.
If they hurt kids, they need to be called out.
Look,
Well,
I know
you know,
you're doing whatever.
if somehow the list was to come out on without just accidentally fell off the back of the truck, I wouldn't mind.
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell from her cell in prison on a phone interview said that she's willing to testify.
Well, I'm saying
So she'll be dead in a week.
if there's no people involved with her crime, did she really commit a crime? Why is she in prison for trafficking kids to nobody?
Wow. I was much more interested in the inner workings of the Confederation of Canadian Provinces. Leave it to my brother. So what thing were you doing in Dune, by the way?
Oh, I'm still doing it. I am I'm sabotaging the missiles.
Oh yeah, you got it. You got to get the missiles. Yeah.
You know,
Atomics.
Yeah, the Atreides have developed some new missile system, and you got to go and F it up. It's a thing.
for the great house of Harkonnen.
One thing they managed to do in that game is they managed to make. I mean, the Harkonnen are the bad guys, kinda, but the Atreides aren't much better. You know what I mean? It's like you're still dealing with nobles treating the peons like shit on a world where everything can kill you. So, whatever.
It's the world of Australia.
That's Shark. I mean, I think if she comes out way freaking like I'll tell tales and blah, 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 she'll get a visit from Killary and that'll be the end of that shit.
Well, so the joke is Ghislaine Maxwell said that she's willing to testify and talk. And in other news, Hillary Clinton tweeted her, sympathies at her untimely suicide.
Yeah, sympathies. It's like, yeah, man.
Not that I would say that, because the Clintons are wonderful people who've never done anything wrong and are just a gift to humanity. And have Bill Clinton's face should be on
They've done so many wonderful things for so
Mount
many
Rushmore. The people of Haiti should be thankful for the existence of the Clintons, and all those people who self-exited after doing business with the Clintons only did so because they realized they could never be as wonderful and amazing as the Clintons, and therefore went to be with Jesus, because that was better and easier than trying to live up to that magnanimous nature that is the Clintons.
I mean, Bill,
Great guy. Played the hell out of that sax on Arsenio Hall.
He did.
The very first black president smoked weed, played sax, and banged fat chicks.
That's what they said back in the day. That Bill counted. But and let's be honest, at least before we found out about all the shady shit when Bill was president, we all kind of liked him.
What shady shit? What are you talking about? Bill Clinton was the greatest president that ever lived.
Exactly.
I thought
Anyone
that was
who
Barack
tells
Obama.
you they didn't like him, I'm like, come on, you liked him. He was going against Bob Dole and freaking Bush. It's like, of course you liked him.
Yeah.
He had a personality. He got on Arsenio Hall and played a sax and talked shit. And, he was like young and handsome. And
By the way, do you know why he did this when he would talk with his hand? He would always do this. Because when he was in Arkansas, he would do this. He would point. And he couldn't help himself from pointing when he would talk. So when they were grooming him for the presidency, his handlers were like, do this instead. You can still make your points. You just won't be being dismissive with them.
Kind of like Disney. One of the first things you learn if you work for Disney, like when I worked for the Rainforest Cafe at Disney, they teach you never point. If you want to direct someone towards something, you use an open palm and you do
Yeah.
like that. Because I guess in some cultures, pointing is like really bad and can get you in trouble and stuff. So yeah, your Disney's that way. They're like, nope, we do not point here.
I learned over the
Yeah, it
same.
gets a little weird though at Disney when they try and tell you something's on the top shelf and they have to use an open hand to indicate it. Up there, you know.
That's just going on. That's just going off of Walt's, personal preferences.
Have you seen Kyle? Have you seen Kyle? He's about this tall. Have you seen Kyle? He's about this tall.
See, Kyle. You guys.
That's-
It was even better that I was just grabbing them by the back of the neck and throwing them in the direction they want to go. Much. That's dominance. That. Let me tell you.
Well, if it's a Japanese guy, you gotta do that because that's all they respect is masculine dominance. So if they come up at you talking shit, just grab them and chuck them at something, and then they'll be like, "Arigato, musha musha."
Jesus Christ.
Pointing is rude. Knife hand, too forceful. Open hand. Or thumbs up is okay. You never thumbs up at Disney because in some East Asian cultures, thumbs up means stick something up your ass. So you can't do that at Disney. No thumbs up. It's insulting. I think East Asians and some Arabs get pissed off about that one. And you can never go A-OK either because if somebody says something and you're like, okay, you're calling them an asshole. You're literally being like, you are an asshole. And they get pissed.
Wait. Something completely innocuous pisses off Arabs? No fucking way.
Yeah, I think that one's Arabs. Another
I don't
one
believe
that you never do with Arabs is this. Because if you hold your hand up like that and do that, it means that you're the son of 5 fathers because your mother's a whore. I learned that in Saudi Arabia. I told all my friends it meant hello. My buddy Malmquest had a worker on the side of the street that was raking leaves, chuck a rake at him. Well, we were driving by and we were sitting in the back of the Humvee. And that guy was yelling something in Arabic. I told Malmquest he's probably saying thank you. And he wanted to give you the rake as a gift. But Malmquest, even though he's a big Californian, he figured it out pretty quick. He was like, I don't think that means what you said it means. And I'm just laughing. Yeah. Funny stuff. Yeah, we had a intelligence guy that was Arabic of some sort that would come around on occasion. So we could ask him all those kind of like, what does this mean and what does that mean? And he would tell us because he was in the American Army. But, he was an Arabic immigrant from somewhere. I don't even remember where. And, yeah. So that's how I found out. Is he came around and I'm like, hey, bro, what's this mean? And he's like, he told me, and I was like, okay, I will use this information for evil. And I did. It was like, why not? But yeah, I've been getting a lot of things painted. We're in the storage part of some of it, and then getting the next batch of stuff painted. Things are going good that way. Yeah, otherwise, my wife made this wonderful 2-ingredient, technically not true, but 2-ingredient cake. You get like the sponge cake that's an all-in-one cake, you don't got to add anything but water. And instead of adding water, you add your favorite fruit pie filling, like a can of it. and then you just mix the shit out of it till it's all properly, integrated, and bake it until the top turns brown. And it's basically like whatever kind of fruit you picked, angel cake. I mean, I don't know if, it's something you'd want to eat a ton of, but, it turns out angel cake of all the different kinds of cakes you could eat is kind of the best one.
That's because it's an angel. I'm down with the devil fruit cake.
Oh, chocolate on chocolate. I see you, Saxius, my lawful evil friend. How are you doing?
Lawful evil? No. He's neutral. He's lawful neutral. He's not concerned with morality of any of it.
When we used to BS around on Twitter, he was always lawful evil.
Yeah, I think that's
was
just
actually in his profile, lawful evil human fighter or something like that.
Yeah, I just think Saxius is neutral, lawful neutral. I don't think Saxius is concerned with morality at all.
Just go old school and say he's just lawful.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's lawful.
I'm going to forever be chaotic neutral because Mage's Music said so.
You are chaotic neutral, dude, for sure.
I hate chaotic neutral.
Yeah, you love your brother.
And I love my brother, but when somebody sits down at your table and says, my character's chaotic neutral, what they mean to say is, I'm evil. And I'm going to cause a lot of bullshit. And then you're going to be like, what the F? And I'm going to be like, well, I'm chaotic neutral. And then I'm going to want to garrote you with anything I have handy. And it happens every time. Every time. If they say chaotic neutral, they're going to be a problem. Just know it.
What?
Yeah.
We're never a problem, are we, Hungar?
I'll tell you one thing I liked about 4th edition D&D, besides the lore, which, James Wyatt wrote, which was awesome, before they moved him over to Magic the Gathering side of the house, was the alignment system. I actually liked it. I like how they got rid of neutral. So instead of being neutral, you were just unaligned.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense if you think about it. You make a character, he's unaligned. It's like he might help the old lady being mugged in the street. He might not.
I was lawful good until my balls dropped, and then I became chaotic good real fucking fast.
Well, mine haven't dropped yet because lawful good.
You are not lawful good. Shut the fuck up.
In game, I am.
I mean, in life, because you are not lawful good. You're chaotic good, and you know it.
In game, I am.
Jesus Christ.
In real life, I think I might be chaotic evil.
No, you're not evil.
Because I can be very selfish.
That means you're chaotic.
And I do enjoy the suffering of others.
No.
Yeah, like when I watch a skateboarder like totally F himself up on a skateboard, I laugh.
Yeah, that's not evil. That's just fucking pragmatic.
Okay. Well, chaotic neutral.
I think Janine Garofalo had the best fucking line about skateboarders ever. She was talking about leaving her house and these fucking skateboarders there. And she's like, there's that one little flip they try and do where they try and flip the board under them and land. Did like one guy one time pull that off and now all of you have to see if you can pull that off forever? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what they feel like sometimes, man.
That is pretty much it. It's like Tony Hawk did it one time back in the 80s, and now they're all killing themselves trying to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, get out of here. I mean, whatever. But yeah, I'm that guy that laughs when I see like a kid fall off a swing set or an old lady trip down some stairs.
Listen, the rule of thumb is this. The difference between being good and evil is if you make sure your friend's okay before you start laughing at them when they hurt themselves.
Yeah, that's true. I do ask, are you okay, man? And when they're
Cool,
like,
'cause that was
yeah,
fucking
then I'm like,
awesome,
ah,
dude.
dumbass.
That was awesome. You went through that plate glass window, dude. That's fucking cool. You know, like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I had my buddy, that the one that passed, that I talk way too much about, I think sometimes. One time he was skateboarding on top of his car. So he's riding his car like a surfboard, right? And his girlfriend at the time was driving it. And he had this big ass Chrysler. I mean, a big one. And he was hauling ass, good 45, 55 miles an hour down the street. And for reasons that we shall never know, other than that she has a vagina, his girlfriend hit the brakes. And he went off the hood of the car and just kind of bounced for about a block. And we were all just laughing, and his elbows, and like it ripped through his jeans to tear the skin off his knees and shit. His elbows were all jacked up. He was bleeding from everywhere. And she's like, I thought I saw something in the road. I think you're just trying to kill your boyfriend. She ended up marrying him.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. I mean, we all ran out to make sure he wasn't dying. And as soon as we knew he wasn't dying, we were all like, just making fun of him. Hogan, the Hulkster. No, I can be on this panel. I can't grow a beard to save my life. Hey, you're 43 and still can't grow a beard.
I don't know what to say to that. Other than, listen, brother, you can do whatever you want to do, brother, because that's what America's about, brother.
I couldn't grow a beard until I was like in my 30s. And then, it is what it is. You know, maybe you've got a lot of Native American blood in you, because, I mean, a lot of the Native American tribes are not well known for their facial hair. You know, that's not really a thing.
When I was in college, my buddy was dating this Chinese girl, Elam, and she was funny as fuck. She was a comic book artist. She was a funny, bitchy, bitter chick. She was really fun. And we're sitting around one day and we're just talking about shit. She goes, "You know, you piss off Asian guys by existing." I went, "What?" She goes, "Your beard, your mustache, and your beard touch. You just piss off Asian men by existing." And I'm like, "Fuck, that's brutal." Okay.
A lot of Japanese people consider men with beards and mustaches to be dirty.
Good.
Like, they're real weird about that. And if you have a lot of visible tattoos, they assume automatically you're a criminal. Because, you know, I guess the Yakuza.
Yakuza?
Yeah. The Yakuza got them all like a little bit worried.
Pocahontas. She's saying her stuff. Pocahontas.
Not Elizabeth. Pocahontas. Yeah. Hey, you never know, because I had some friends, still have, I still talk to these guys that I met on an MMO like 25 years ago. And they live up in Massachusetts, but they're Portuguese. Like, he was born in America and his dad was born in America, but his grandpa was born in the Canary Islands or something.
And he was born with a little black mustache, wasn't he?
I'll tell you what, I never could understand. You look at this guy and he looks like Shrek if Shrek had ears and human skin tone. I shit you not, size and all. And he's got a I thought French last name, but maybe not French. And I'm sitting here like, the hell is this guy from? And he's like, oh, well, originally, you know, Portugal, but then we stopped off at the Canary Islands for a couple generations. And then when America, I guess America claimed like half of the Canary Islands and the other half is Portuguese. And so if you were born on the American Canary Islands, you can freaking just come to America. And since they're all sailors, they end up in Massachusetts working, you know, as longshoremen and fishermen and shit like that. Fine black women. I saw a black woman last night on TV talking about the mayor of Chicago, and I had to stop and tell my wife, "Man, that is a beautiful woman right there." And she looked at her and she said, "You're right. That is a beautiful woman." And it was so I don't want to sound like some old bigot or anything, but I'm generally not attracted to like black chicks. But this look at him, yeah. But oh, he's like, I will bite you to show you I love you.
Oh yes.
But every now and then, man, every now and then. What's the topic of conversation? Games,
old men.
old men. That's why the picture is
How cute my cat is. How cute. Because Vic hates my cat.
I do not hate your cat. I think your
You
cat's
spoil
cool.
your cat. I spoil my cat by not beating him and feeding him regularly. I know what a prick I am. You're so fucking your life.
Vic should be happy very soon.
Why?
Right.
Well, the government's deporting all the Haitians, so all of the Somalis can finally feel like they live in little Mogadishu again.
They're gonna get those. They're gonna be deporting the Somalis come February next year. That's when their temporary protection status goes away. You know
What games, what platform? Hogan, the game that I play and my brother who was on Hungar, that's my real life brother play, is Dune Awakening on PC. And I think they're going to make it cross play soon if they haven't already. But really, it's if you don't like Dune, you're not going to like this game. I'll tell you that right now.
What's her name? Ilhan Omar? Is that her name?
Yep.
Can they deport
Hungar,
that
shut up.
too?
Hungar,
Hungar, we know you're
wrote,
lying.
Bear, you see what Hungar posted?
Yeah, a lie that he's
Right.
on the black
The thing about Ilhan Omar is if they can prove that she lied on her immigration, that they will be able to get rid of her. So,
And had sex with her brother.
Oh, married her brother.
Married.
Yeah.
Get him into the U.S., right?
Right.
Yeah. That is some.
I used to work at a hip hop club in Vancouver, pretty much the hip hop club in Vancouver. And one night, this guy I had to throw out was Somali. I knew nothing. It was the 90s, Somali, whatever. Guy pulled a fucking box cutter on me, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, whatever. Later, the other black bouncers are like just fucking talking shit about him nonstop. Fucking Somali, fucking did the N-word, Somali N-word. And I'm like, dude, he's black. And they're like, fucking Somalis aren't black. And they just went off for like 25 minutes about what pieces of shit Somalis are. And I'm like, holy fuck. I just tripped into black racism.
Sadly, they are a group of people in Africa that literally everyone around them
hates them. Hates them.
Just absolutely despises them. The Ethiopians, the Eritreans, Egypt, everyone hates them bastards.
Now that said, I worked with a Somali girl at a call center. She was fucking smoke show.
Some of them are. Greetings, Battle Brothers. How goes this glorious day in the Imperium find you? Well, it finds me pleased as it's yet another day to serve the God Emperor and possibly surrender my life. Remember, anything worth doing is worth dying for.
Yep. You watch those Helldivers 2 videos with the guy doing the drill sergeant while running through the missions with people?
Oh yeah, well you gotta love Helldivers because you're fighting for super democracy.
Yes. Did you ever see the videos with the guy doing the voice of that drill sergeant? Oh, that's outstanding! Like Jesus Christ, that guy was funny.
You're fighting for super democracy against the bugs, and the bugs obviously are communism.
Yeah, and then he breaks it one point and finds out that the guy's actually Australian. It was like, holy shit, you know?
Yeah, I live in Florida. I think it's like they just issue MAGA hats down here. We are currently the free state of Florida and also the home of Alligator Alcatraz. Because alligator Alcatraz sounds better than alligator, python, anaconda, crocodile Alcatraz,
and crocodile. Yeah, exactly.
which all exist in that region. We literally, Florida is the Australia of North America. Everything that we've got, monkeys that got herpes that if they bite you, you will die. There's no cure of it. And I mean real monkeys too. I'm not talking like bullshit here. We're talking capuchins that are just roaming. Also, Florida is known as one of the most highly populated states for bears anywhere in America. But they're the black bears. So they're the little ones that if you puff up at and yell at, they'll probably run away.
Oh, we got an issue up here in Minneapolis with the bear populations. They're starting to freak out around here. There's bears in our backyard. I'm like, you know what? This is what happens when you don't shoot them anymore. You know, come
Dude,
on.
I've heard of people living in Detroit bitching about bears.
Yeah.
Because they've cut off services and shit to so much of Detroit. It's like if you live there, you're kind of on your own. So you got to watch out for the feral dogs and black bears. But, oh, you went on vacation to Florida? Went to Disney, obviously, yeah. I live here. I've not been to Disney in like 40 years. But moving to Florida, absolutely. Like in Florida now, DeSantis made it against the law to spray anything in the atmosphere above the state of Florida. So I guess he bought into the contrails conspiracy thing. So you're not allowed to try to make it rain. You're not allowed to fuck with the weather patterns. You're not allowed to spray anything in our atmosphere. Also, he outlawed fluoride.
Why is everybody talking shit about my people, man? We are a good people, the Bears. We are a nice people.
Yeah.
We're very friendly. Just do not
like
attempt
women
to stop.
are asked, would you rather be in the wood with a man or a bear?
And we win every fucking time. So maybe, just leave the pantry open and don't get in our fucking way when we're hungry. Just as simple as that.
Yeah, it's easy. It's called coexistence.
Maybe you're all
fill
talking
a
about
bowl
it.
full of dog
Coexist.
food, slide it out the sliding glass door real quick. He'll eat it and go away for a while. It's fine.
And we'll keep wolves.
I didn't even know chickens
yard.
could go feral, Daryl. I rhymed. We have so many weird laws down here. Like, here's another great law. If people block a highway and you run them over, they're the criminal. You are the victim. So if you're Antifa, don't come down here and jump in the middle of I-75 thinking you're going to get shit done, because you're going to get smeared all the way down the street by somebody in a truck jacked up way too high. And I hate how they do it, because not only do they jack them up too high, but they bulldog them. So the back's lower than the front. And I'm like, how do you see over the hood like that? They call that bulldogging. So, yeah, you jump in the middle of I-75 and some redneck in a big F-250 whipping down with 36-inch tires, will run your ass right over. And then you will get charged with a crime. He will not. Oh, man. I was watching this guy who lives in Florida, and he was just like going over like the top 10 new laws DeSantis passed. Crazy shit. Like like anything that's going on in California right now is all illegal in the state of Florida, and you will go to jail. So you can protest peacefully in a park. If you try to block a sidewalk or a roadway, you will go to jail or get ran over. If you throw a brick at a cop, the cop is allowed to shoot you, because they consider it assault with a deadly weapon. So the cop can defend himself. I mean, it's like there's a whole list the guy on YouTube gave, and it's crazy ass shit. It's basically, yeah. So no more fluoride in the water because they consider that to be medicating a population without consent. Plus, apparently, fluoride is a neurotoxin that causes populations to actually get dumber the longer they're on it. And it might even affect testosterone and shit like that. No contrails
the
in
San
the
Francisco
skies, no blocking highways, no being loud.
Really?
I mean, in a way, Florida is a police state, but in the
no
another
being
way,
loud in
very
Florida?
peaceful.
How the fuck does that work out? I've seen videos.
Florida lowers IQ. Well, no, the IQ's there. It's just the wisdom is completely missing.
Oh,
I mean,
so it's a -2 to your wisdom.
Yeah. So that guy that decides, like my friend, he wants to surf on the hood of his car. That guy had like 100 and something IQ, but his wisdom was like 2 because he did stupid shit all the time, especially if it was impressing the fair sex. This guy would do shit that would practically, well, almost got him killed a lot of times.
Shark, the creaming would be endless only if they were released in my neighborhood. Thank you very much. Ah, fuck you all. That was funny.
That was funny. And we've already established that a lot of women like you because you're a big, tall, burly bastard. We've established that a lot of men like you too, though, for the same reason.
That's the downside of being a big, tall, burly bastard. But the best part is, as that Facebook meme said, which is, "How are you single?" Wait, you're going to see how the magic works. It's just, and here it is. I speak my fucking mind, and I don't care. So as a result, happily single.
You know what I do? Is I think my mind, and I don't speak.
Yeah.
And I don't care. And because I don't care, I don't speak. Because I'm like, eh. But then again, my wife was really happy with me today since I spent hours. Apparently, something we fed our puppy did not settle well, and it had some diarrhea type stuff on the tile floor. And then before anyone realized what was going on, the Roomba decided to run through it.
Ugh.
Which meant I spent most of the morning cleaning the Roomba. Not fun.
I actually want to get one of those, but they're so fucking expensive.
Oh, that's another law that he passed. It's a capital crime to essay children or anything like that in Florida.
Good.
So you get a death penalty down here if he catches you doing that shit.
What about all the inbreeding?
So, yeah, it's Florida's a wild state. I mean, I miss Kentucky, but I like Florida. Florida's pretty cool too. I mean, in Kentucky, I'd just be doing different shit. I'd be like broadcasting from the top of a mountainside and shit like that, and showing you guys the view with my camera and being like, I think I'm going to die from walking way up this mountain. I have chest pains, but it don't matter because no one's going to make it here. So if it is a heart attack, it's nice knowing you guys because the nearest fire rescue department's like 30 minutes away. So, and the chances of them finding me in the middle of the Daniel Boone National Forest is pretty slim. So maybe their dogs will find me. Yeah, it's hilarious too. Speaking of the punishment thing, the news was trying to catch the Homeland Security lady, and a lot of the inmates at Alligator Alley are complaining about the heat and mosquitoes and blah blah blah. And she's like, "Have you ever known a prisoner not to complain about their situation?" And the news lady was just like, because it's like, of course they're complaining. They're locked up. They can't go nowhere. They're surrounded by monsters. And I mean like real life monsters that will eat you. And they're living in tents, which, from what I understand, they keep at a constant like 65 degrees. Kentucky was almost named Transylvania before statehood. There was a time when I think Pennsylvania was going to be named the state of Penn or some shit like that, and they forced them to change the name, and also they forced them to allow Jews to live there because according to the original Pennsylvania state charter, Jewish people weren't allowed to live there. It's like, okay then. And the federal government stepped in and was like, look, man, you can't be like that. You know, what are you doing? You know, for the longest time, up until the 80s, Muslims were not allowed to hold government positions. They changed that shit like in the 80s. A selfie from a brown bear. Big balls exposed. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be it. We don't have a lot of brown bears in Kentucky. We got black bears. But the thing I would be more worried about out in the woods, not counting all the supernatural shit that I'm just afraid of for supernatural reasons, is feral pigs. Because
So
feral pigs, they get really big and they are not impressed by the fact that you're a human. So, like, if you run up on boar, like a wild boar, they're going to try to get away from you most of the time, unless they feel like they can't. But a feral pig can get up to 600-700 pounds, and it will kill and eat your butt. You know, lickety split. For a long time, the state of Kentucky was actually offering people money to go into the state park and kill the feral pigs because people who were believe it or not, people do go on vacation to Kentucky, right? Yeah, they were getting sick and tired of getting their whole thing overrun by feral pigs running in and just tearing shit up. So, you know, they made that law. They have the same law for coyotes too. So, yeah, if you're a coyote up there, you're open game year round. So if you're one of my relatives and you just like to shoot stuff because you go out, the new thing they do now is they go out with like night vision scopes on their 270s because 270 is about perfect for a coyote, right? And coyotes ain't too bright when it's night out. You know what I mean? They just wander about doing whatever. And they'll take a ton of them out. But I mean, they're not supposed to be there, so. Well, Vlad Tepes, you know, we call him Dracula in Romania. He's on their money, and he's considered to be a national hero and icon. He did some crazy shit. That dude was a mad lad, to quote, what's his name? The Scotsman. Dankula. Yeah. He was definitely a mad lad. Like some Turkish guy visited his court once and wouldn't remove his hat, so he nailed the dude's hat to his head and sent him back. Of course, it killed him because, you know, when you put a big nail through somebody's head, they die. GARC. I don't even know what that is. My favorite cartridge right now is 300 Blackout Subsonic. Mainly because it's not as loud as a lot of rounds, and you know, it ain't got the range of some rounds, but you know, under 150 yards is fine.
Subsonic ammunition. Love the stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
You pop your whatever you want in your backyard, practically.
Yeah, that was I mean, the thing that Vlad Tepes knew that a lot of people didn't know was the strength of psychological warfare. He knew he didn't have the army. He knew his army was outnumbered probably 1,000 to 1 by the Turkish Empire, right? So what did he do? He scared the shit out of them. You know, he did crazy shit that no normal human being would ever dream of doing. And it scared the shit out of them. It made them where they were like, no, we're not going there. You know, leave that mother, you know, that dude is crazy. You know, we don't want any part of that shit. And, you know, it worked. And I'll tell you what, as a guy who spent some time in Iraq, we do the same shit. I remember one time they pulled trucks up with giant speakers and they played Babies Crying for like a week straight. They had to stop because it started effing with us. You know what I mean? Because it was just a screaming baby nonstop on loop. And it's like, why would you do that? That's you know, that's you'd think that'd be against some rule of war, but apparently not. Apparently you can get away with that. So let's see here. I 3D printed a superhero for some reason, Bear.
Uh-huh.
I've just painted her gold for no good reason, but it's a woman with a shield.
Hang on, let me see. Sorry, I'm doing something. Let me take a look. Show me again. Oh, that's kind of cool, man.
Yeah. I was sitting there looking at her trying to figure out, I wonder what her superpowers are.
Blowjobs.
Well, I mean, quite possibly, yes. That could be a thing. But, I mean, probably not for the prisoners.
Well, you'd be surprised, man.
Maybe just for Superman.
There's a lot of women in corrections who, you know.
I've heard that, yeah.
Get down with the
inmates, yeah.
Yeah, you know, they're insane in the membrane.
I have heard about women literally trying to help inmates escape.
Women, okay, I'm going to just shut up because I was going to say something.
Not a good idea. If you're a prison guard, that's not a good idea trying to help inmates get out of jail.
Minnesota prison, women's prison, no gates, no wall, no nothing. It's just an open campus, and it's in Shakopee, which is like 20 miles from my house, and it's in a suburb. It's like
Shark. Here's what's awesome about the 3-hour blackout is if you already let me speak correctly. I start slipping into my holler talk. If you already own a Armalite style rifle, you don't have to buy a whole new rifle. You just have to buy an upper. Because the 300 blackout uses the same magazine as 223. And so you pop those 2 pins, take the upper off, put your new upper on, close those 2 pins, rack in your 300 blackout, good to go. When I bought mine, it came with both uppers. So if I want to get sporty and fire a 5.56, I can. Or if I'm feeling like wasting a lot more money, I fire that 223 or that 300 blackout, because I mean 300 blackout costs way more than the 5.56. I mean, anymore you can get 5.56 down here at least pretty dirt cheap. But I get all my 300 blackout from an online dealer because I guess for some reason in the state of Florida you can do that. You can go online and buy, 500 rounds of 300 blackout subsonic and pay them with your credit card, and they'll send it right to your house. It's like, uh-oh.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
All right, James, my girlfriend and I were talking about this. She's like, what's going to happen if we get this property and people come onto it? And I said, first shot is a warning shot. It'll be rock salt or something else. Second one out the barrel is going to be a dragon's tongue or dragon's whatever you call that stuff.
Dragon breath.
Ammunition. You know,
The
stuff
phosphorus rounds.
Yeah. Yep. Dragon's breath. And the third one out the round is going to be buckshot. And it's going to be.
One thing a lot of people
Is it
do
third out?
with 12 gauge is they alternate between like buckshot and slugs.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, I will tell you this: at
I know
close
that
range, if
buckshot.
you shoot somebody with duck shot, if you hit them, it turns that whole section of their body into hamburger meat. I mean, there's just like, I mean, you as a paramedic, when you show up on something like that, you wrap it up and try to keep fluids in him and try to get him to the hospital because there's nothing to be done.
Oh,
Yeah.
I believe it. But that's why I told the girlfriend, I said, the first one's the warning shot with rock salt. You know, if you don't run from that, then there comes a flame. Then you better be running quick. And then the last one's a buckshot right in your ass.
There's a tell that I was told a long time ago, and I believe it's true, right? You get yourself a dog.
Mm-hmm.
If someone comes on your property and your dog starts barking and they don't leave, shoot to kill. Because anyone that's willing to go onto your property knowing there's a dog there has very, very bad intentions. That's what I've heard. So
I'm no voice in this conversation at all because we don't have the castle laws like you do down there.
Well, you see, again, the thing you mentioned about Americans, it is our greatest strength, but sometimes, Bear, on occasion, it's also a great weakness.
Oh, it is. Though, at least you're not as stupid as we are. We had there's plenty of instances of this. One I can remember, there was some guys doing a home invasion in Vancouver, and they ran when the cops showed up, and one of them had a toy gun but painted up to look like a real gun that they were using to menace people. And the cops saw it, and the cops shot him. Killed him. And the family sued and won.
Oh.
That happens down here.
Yeah. That's where we get stupid in this country.
Well, you get stupid in this country when Ottawa, I was reading something, Ottawa banned 257 more types of guns or something like that. It's like, how can they just go off and do that?
Well, it's
you know
when
what I mean?
people who are in favor of gun control learn the valuable lesson that it ain't the fucking legal gun owners that are the problem. I was in a shooting at a bar in Vancouver, the hip hop club, and it was two guys with Tech 9s, and guess what was illegal and still is in Canada at that time? Tech 9s. Do you think they gave a fuck about the law? No. They still had them. They brought them up from the States, you know?
Tech 9s are so lame.
Yeah, but they were all the rage in the 90s for the gangbangers.
I know. All the gangbangers had them because they could hold so much ammo and shit, but to me, they're just lame.
Yeah, I still wouldn't want someone to open up full bore at me with one.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing, too. If you rack the 12 gauge and the guy keeps trying to come in the house, he's crazy. He's insane. Because the sound of a 12 gauge racking around is terrifying. If you know what it is. You know what I mean? You hear that, and you're like, oh, yeah, shit's getting ready to get bad around here.
Good thing I wore my brown pants today. Ooh.
Yep. It's like, you don't want any part of it.
Now, I gotta go. I gotta go, so I'm gonna go. But I'm not leaving because of the gun talk. I'm leaving because I have to finish my day of work. But it was lovely seeing you, gentlemen.
Okay.
All right.
Take care. And
Have a
please
good
don't
one,
shoot
Bear.
anyone.
Oh, sir.
Please don't shoot anyone if you don't have to. Please.
Oh, never. Never.
Please.
Never.
Use your words.
You ever take a trip to the States, Bear?
I've been there many fucking times.
Hey?
Yo, bro. Because of Grand Rapids, Michigan, I have a permanent invite to the cookout. You understand? Like I'm good. I just don't. I like the fact that at like 2 a.m, I can go to my little gas station convenience store, get some stuff, and if some guys walk in, I'm not worried. I'm not in the back of my head going, "Oh, are these guys here to rob the place?" Or anything. It's the one nice part about Canada. It's the one nice part.
I'm the same way, except when I go to the store
location,
at 2 in the morning,
location,
I'm
location.
packing.
There, it's location, location, location.
Yeah, I watch enough Donut Operator and all those fun things to know that it ain't location, 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 unless you're referring to United States of America as the location. Good day, gentlemen. Good day.
Good day, sir.
Good day, sir. Well, I don't know. I feel comfortable going to my neighborhood convenience store at 2 a.m. It's 5 miles north of here in Minneapolis. I don't feel comfortable going there, you know?
I feel comfortable going to my convenience store because I'm packing.
Yeah.
So, you know, if something busts loose, I mean, okay, we'll deal with it. But
yeah,
you know, I got my
my convenience store that's less than a mile from my house is the cop shop, the secondary cop shop. If you can't find cops at the police station, go to the Holiday gas station and they will be there.
I love that because for a long time I worked in a Circle K convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
And every time the cops would show up, I would give them free refills, free coffee. Like if they wanted something off the roller grill, I would comp it. Because my goal was to keep the cop in the store absolutely as long as possible.
Right.
Because while the cop's in the store, ain't nobody doing nothing. And the store made it very clear to me that no, you cannot concealed carry while on the job.
Yeah.
Because the manager knew me and was like, look, I know you have a propensity for, you know, you cannot do that for legal reasons. And I was like, well, damn. So I got to sit here overnight dealing with Florida man from 7 to 11, 7 p.m. to 11 a.m. And I can't even carry nothing. And that is the answer. Yeah. And we got robbed once. I got robbed at gunpoint. And the guys come in. It was like three brothers. And I knew something was up just because I had that feeling, you know, that tingle. And they come in and put a freaking whore pistol in my face. And whore pistol is a nickname, in case some of you guys don't know, for like a 25 automatic. How you doing, Mobius? And you know what they stole? Cigarettes.
What?
They came around the counter and they stole every carton of cigarettes they could carry. And I mean, I hate to be stereotypical, but of course they went for the Noopies right away. They had to get their Newports. But then they also grabbed some Marlboros. So you had 3 guys come in, one with a gun. I stood there and watched them carry out, I don't know, 80 cartons of cigarettes. Now, when you figure how much a carton of cigarettes sells for, that's actually a lot of money. But they didn't even ask me to open the register. You know, I mean, they open the register. They know I've got like $20 in there, because every time you get more than $20, you drop whatever's excess into the safe. So these guys, they weren't worried about cash money or nothing. They just stole every bit of cigarette.
They flat out knew that what they could sell without having to trace evidence.
And
you know
that's
what I
what
mean?
they got.
I mean, you can go into the hood and you can have those Newports, 90 boxes of Newports, walk into the hood, and at the time you were probably getting, I don't know, $15
15 or 20,
maybe,
whatever it was.
And yeah, they can go into the hood and advertise at $10 a
Move
carton.
it quick. Nobody's like whatever.
And
you know what the weirdest part of being robbed by those dudes was? The last one to walk out the door told me to have a good night.
Well, he knew flat out that, you know, what was going to happen. Did they even get caught?
To my knowledge, no.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And like I said, it was 3 tweens, maybe, you know, somewhere in that neighborhood. And they just rolled. They'd been casing the place, I think, because they rolled in, stuck the gun in my face, and they immediately knew where everything was. You know what I mean? When they come around the counter, they knew where all the cartons of cigarettes were. And so they'd probably been in the store before. But and then they jumped in the car, which I couldn't identify other than it was a red car. And away they went. That's my big dangerous story about working third shift at a Circle K.
Oh, I don't know. Kings, 6 Nations, and 31 Kings. The up here in Minneapolis, menthol cools are a big item. They're so big that a friend of mine owns a convenience store on the north side of Minneapolis near one of the infamous hoods, and he had to put a tobacco shop inside his convenience store so he could sell menthols or something like that. I don't remember exactly how it was. They changed it so convenience stores couldn't sell menthol. A tobacco store could. It was weird, typical nonsense. So,
Typical Minnesota bullshit because you guys keep electing Tim Walz.
Well, the Minneapolis City Council is about as let me see here. It's about as conservative as Stalin.
Damn,
was.
Daryl, that sucks.
Stalin and the Minneapolis City Council would get along fine. Mao Zedong and the Minneapolis City Council would get around fine.
I remember there was some guy tried to do a shooting at church, and like one of the church members ran his ass over with a car. That was like a week ago. I have no idea what's going on with these people wanting to shoot churches, but I will tell you this as a Kentuckian, there are a lot of Satanists in Kentucky. Like, you would be amazed, surprised, dumbfounded. Like, they caught one cult because they were killing homeless people and then leaving their bodies on the train track. And like they would sacrifice the homeless person or whatever and then leave the body on the train track. This, of course, was 40 years ago at least. But anyway, the point is, for the longest time, people just thought drunks were passing out on train tracks. But then they start figuring out, why are drunks passing out on the train tracks always in this particular bend of the train tracks? It's like, and where are these drunks coming from? They'd have to walk 10 miles to get there, So, yep, Deacon ran him down with the truck. Yep, that might be, I don't know if that's the same shooting, but yeah. A deacon, and then we live in a time when a freaking church has to have a guard. That's like crazy stuff. But remember that other dude up in Tennessee, he was going to shoot up the church, and some dude who lived up the hill saw him and just tuck him out with a 223. Just like, bam! That's the end of that shit.
Well, the problem is in this country is when they started closing all the mental institutions, and they just turned these people out and just like, oh, it's better if they're in group homes. Well, the group homes don't care.
If
they walk out the door, the group home's still going to collect money on it until this person checks into another group home somewhere. You know what I mean?
I hate to do it because people on my side of the aisle idolize the man, but it was Reagan.
No, it wasn't Reagan. There was a judge in North Dakota, a federal judge in North Dakota, who is mentally ill at the time, and now he's in a mental institution himself right now, that passed a law or found the state of North Dakota guilty of cruelty to the patients at the North Dakota mental hospitals, and that sort of reverberated around the country. His name was well,
I learned something new every day because I was pretty sure it was Reagan.
No, once that ruling came down, the
Yeah,
The-
different.
The states started perking up, taking a look at it, and going, "Oh crap, we can get held liable too." And that's when shit changed.
Yeah. Yeah, Hungar's right. The church my parents go to, literally every one of the parishioners and the pastor is packing heat. Like my mom's packing, my dad's packing, everybody's packing. You run in there trying to pull any foolishness, you're going. I mean, it's not going to work out great for you, because you're going to be running into a room full of people all packing, and half of them just looking for a reason to shoot somebody. You know what I mean? Like, so
You pull a gun in a loaded a room full of people with guns, I'd be totally on what do you want to call it? I wouldn't be surprised. Let's put it that way, that you don't leave the building about 10 ounces heavier with lead in you.
yeah.
Didn't that
Well,
happen?
the area of Kentucky where my family lives, everyone carries firearms all the time. Like, you can still see people driving around in a truck with a freaking rifle or shotgun in the back. It's literally still 1980s America. And we have constitutional carry up there. So,
Yeah.
anybody can strap a holster on and carry whatever they want. If you're really that guy, you could just put a sling on your freaking AR and carry it around. Why you'd want to, I don't know. I did enough
Like they
that
do in
shit
Israel?
Huh?
Like they do in Israel?
Like they do in Israel, exactly. But I said I did enough that shit in the army, so I am not interested. The AR is a light platform until you got to carry that bitch for like 15 miles. And then all of a sudden it gets freaking heavy. And your arms hurt and you're just like, God, why have you forsaken me? And also, drill sergeant, why have you forsaken me? And yeah, so I would never want to do that. Suspect dead wearing a keffiyeh. Aspiring rapper who used the name Honky Kong. Oh, well, I'm sure there's no racial element to that shooting. I wonder if he was a Hassan Piker fan, because Hassan got mad the other day and started waving the 9mm around because someone in his chat said it was time for a crusade. And like Hassan got super pissed off about it. So that dude better watch out, because somebody's going to end up shooting some people and writing a manifesto talking about how they did it because of Hassan, and his ass will go to jail.
I don't know. Have you been seeing
what I mean?
James, have you been looking at Radio Genoa on X? Jeez, meaning crickets. The Spanish have about had it. They've been these North Africans and stuff have been beating up their elderly over there, and now the Spanish are on the hunt. Man, they're lynch mobs and everything else over there. So,
hey, like I told the one guy from Spain the other day, and he agreed, even though he was using Ragnar as his handle, General Franco didn't fight as hard as he did so you guys could give your country away. You know what I mean? He didn't wipe out all the commies and all that bullshit so you could turn around and just flood the country with a bunch of non-Christians, because part of Franco's coalition was the church. The Carlists were all hardcore Catholics. So it was Franco who was a fascist, but you also had the Carlists, you had all these different people there. And on the other side, they're called the Republicans, but they're not Republicans. and you had communists and democratic socialists and all that shit, and atheists. Because I mean, there's pictures where the leftist side of the Spanish Revolution held a trial for Jesus and then like executed him by firing squad. It is a statue that they got out of a church.
Okay. You
But
think?
still, it's like, why would you do that?
All right. Let's take a little informal survey. Do you think the EU will break up over something like this? Over the unchecked immigration?
Well, I mean, the eastern part of the EU has already told the EU to get fucked.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but like Poland, Hungary, etc., they're like not having it.
Yeah.
At all. Germany's starting to get really mad about it. And we don't need that, because when the Germans start getting really mad about foreign people living in Germany, I mean, those guys are go-getters. They make shit happen. And it's not good. You know what I'm saying? So every people has a right to exist in the land God gave them. Now, some people are going to be like, but you're in America. Didn't God give that to the Indians? No. Because if God wanted the Indians to have this land, they would. But now we have it because it was ordained. And we have a right to defend it. I think that's the thing people forget, you know? People have a right to, and the EU just keeps wanting to bring more and more in. And like with England and France, it's kind of understandable, and even Spain to a degree, because they had empires and they owned entire countries in Africa and, you know, the Philippines and all over the place. So, I mean, it's almost understandable a little bit, but I mean, when you got a bunch of autocrats sitting in The Hague and they're just telling you, you will bring in this amount of people per year, I mean, then you're not even the master of your own country. You know, look what they did to Romania. Romania had a vote. The guy won the vote, but the EU didn't like the guy who won the vote, so they declared that the vote was illegal. I mean, and it was the game plan, the same one they tried on Trump. They declared the vote was illegal because of Russian interference. As if Russia gives a shit what's going on in Romania. You know what I mean? If there's any country in the Balkans that Russia cares about, it's Serbia. Because they consider themselves to be brothers. But yeah, they don't give a shit about anything going on with Romanians. Aren't even Slavs. They're actually closer related to the Italians. Except they're actually, the Romanians are more Roman than the Italians are.
Well, that's because there was see, this is a lost history most people don't read about, is that Rome had established colonies in Romania, and it was called something else before that.
Dacia.
So, yeah.
It was called Dacia, and Rome fought like for 20 years there. Finally wiped out the Dacian king and army and everything. And it was a hard battle because apparently the Dacians were badasses. And then instead of bringing the troops home, he just told them to take wives and split the land up and do whatever. And that's why to this day, the closest you will get to the actual spoken Roman language is Romanian. And even it's not.
Also, when they did that, they also sent more troops, and they just said, well, you're retiring out after wasn't it the 20-year rule? You had to be in the Roman army for 20 years.
20 years.
And then once you're done in the 20 years, they made military cities where they built the city and said, here it is. This is a military city. All these retired military guys get to move there. They get free, blah, blah, blah. It's sort of like a
yeah, unless they had a wife waiting for them back home somewhere in Rome.
Right. or
and a
wherever.
lot of people mistake Rome. Rome is the empire.
Uh-huh,
The city is called Roma.
uh-huh,
So if you're actually speaking the ancient Latin, you would say, I am from Rome. That means something totally different than saying I'm from Roma. Because one says you're from that specific city and the other says you're from the empire. But God knows where unless you say. You know, are you from Hispania?
Oh,
Or
and remember, Rome wasn't stupid. They took troops like out of Africa, moved them up to England down to northern Africa. They moved them around so that they had those legions were not particularly settled in a space. It's like every so many years they just nope, we're moving the 16th Legion from Spain for what I mean. So it was just something that they did just to make sure that there wasn't a collusion or uprisings or whatever you want to call that by the troops. So
Shark, I don't disagree with you, but I predict that what you're saying will not happen. I think that what needs to happen in Europe is that they have had too many decades of good times, and it's only a matter of time before they have a few decades of bad times. And when they get a few decades of bad times under them, you will see big changes. You're already seeing big changes. Like I said, look at everyone's favorite little European Texas. Poland takes no shit from anyone. The EU says to Poland, you have to take 100,000 migrants. Poland says, get bent. We're not doing it, And then the EU's like, well, we'll fine you. And Poland's like, we won't pay it. And then what's the EU going to do? Invade Poland? Poland has been buying more arms and equipment from the United States than almost any other country on the planet. Their army is top grade, at least as far as equipment wise, because it's all our shit. They just,
didn't they say something? Didn't Trump at one point in time say he's going to try to move the German bases into Poland instead?
Yeah. And the Poles were happy. The Poles were like, shit, yeah, man. The last thing I remember seeing something where the Poles were mad because they bought a bunch of missiles from the U.S. They bought like 300 missiles. And the thing that had them upset is they wanted like 600. And it's like, where is Poland getting all this money from? Because they're buying like all of our high-end shit, HIMARS and freaking everything like that. It's
Poland's economy is chugging right along. I've got a guy friend that he wants me to use his Polish dice supplier instead of a Chinese dice supplier. So if the Polish are willing to make it for comparable prices or just a little bit above what the Chinese are doing, I'd rather send my money to Poland. You know what I mean? So
and then the Hungarians made a giant fence exactly 100 yards inside their border. Mm-hmm. So technically you can migrate to Hungary, but you have to live on that 100 yards between the border and the fence because you can't cross that fence. So, and those countries get accused of being like all the isms and ists and shit. But what it really boils down to is Hungary and Poland have been invaded so many times that they're just maybe over it for a while, And after fighting tooth and nail and losing tens of millions of people in all these wars, why would you just roll over and give the country away? If they're going to take your country, make them fight for it. It's this crazy shit going on in Mexico where they're rioting against Americans in Mexico. But the difference is the Americans in Mexico are there legally. They got their papers. The government invited them in. They paid to be there. The Mexicans we're trying to get rid of are in here illegally. No one's calling them racists, but they're calling us racists.
Yeah, irony is that there's a difference between legal and illegal, and what the people in America, these I call them immigration. Oh, they're not illegal; they're just undocumented. I'm like, no. It's still illegal. You don't understand. Just
No human is illegal.
Yeah,
It's like that is the kind of person that believed the Native Americans didn't believe in land ownership and never fought wars. My mom was like that for a while before I disabused her of her mistaken ideas by showing her all the wars that went on between the Lakota and basically everyone near them.
yeah.
Which they eventually lost because the Chippewa or Ojibwa Indians cut a trade deal, I think, with the French to get their hands on muskets. And once the Ojibwa had bought some muskets and trained with them, they went into the Lakota territory and just started putting an ass whipping on them. So the Lakota fled the forests in the north to the plains around the Black Hills, where they encountered another tribe that they immediately genocided out of existence and declared that region their region. And then we, of course, showed up and put a beating on them and said, no, now it's our region. Like in that bury me at bended knee or whatever, when the Indians like trying to talk all this shit about how they lived in peace, and cavalry officers like, that's a damn line, you know it. You people were the most warlike, savage bastards. You were constantly at war with each other, and he named the tribe that the Lakota had wiped out in that region. He's like, what about them? Huh? Yeah. But for some reason, white people, especially women, have this noble savage thing where they want to believe that the Native Americans were living in this perfect society. No one was killing each other. Everything was just wonderful. And it's like, that is simply just not true. Those guys were going for the gusto. There's a reason they developed weapons. It wasn't just for fun, Like a lot of those tribes in the Northeast, Mohawks, freaking Crow, Blackfoot, those guys were renowned for being warriors and also having a fondness for torture. Like if they captured you, they'd torture you for days. You'd be praying for death. So, the Iroquois Nation and all that. The only ones of them that were even whatever friendly to Americans, and I think this is why people from Kentucky are the way they are, is the Cherokee, Kentucky was surrounded by Cherokee. They didn't actually live in Kentucky because it was considered mystical or magic land, but they would bury their dead there and they'd hunt there, right? But the white people who lived there, the Cherokee, were always, for the most part, very nice. You know what I mean? Willing to trade, didn't want to, All right. Have a great time up there, bro. We love our future Americans. Right? Maybe I should start every one of my shows off. Americans and soon to be Americans in Canada. How are you doing today? You know what I mean? I mean, it'd get attention. It would definitely get attention. But what time have we got? Oh, we're almost at time.
5:06 your time.
Yeah, but I'm more
Go to the
interested.
convention, buddy, or what are you gonna do?
I'm more interested in how long I've been streaming. Because I generally, unless we're having a really good conversation and the people watching are super involved in it, I don't want to keep it over 2 hours, you know?
Yeah, I understand.
And lately I've been ending them after like an hour and a half, but last couple times I streamed, you know, it was kind of dead. There wasn't a whole lot of people being involved. It was weird because there were like 19 people watching, but the chat wasn't moving at all. So I'm sitting here thinking,
Yeah. You know what, Shark? Our history books are doing it to ourselves. They're whitewashed like nobody's business. All the tragedies. I didn't learn about like the Tulsa massacre, that massacre in Oklahoma until I was an adult and stuff like that. And I'm just like, where's the real history? And you know, I have to go back and look through. You know,
in modern schools, they're not allowed to teach history after 1950.
Yeah.
Or before 1950. Before. Flip
right.
it.
And I don't see
because they only want the kids to know about America after the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary because, I mean, 1984 said it, you know, if you control the past, you control the future.
Well, I think that's part of the reason why they started ripping down all the statues. Because then when people see statues, they go up there, okay, what's this about? Then they read the bottom of the statue at the plaque and they go, oh, I didn't know that. You know, maybe I'll get interested in history so it doesn't doom to repeat itself, which is bullshit. Sorry.
The statue of the Confederate soldier in Orlando, they removed it.
Yeah.
But they put it in a park, like this park far away from where people can be offended by it. But near the lake where it was, they left the thing it was standing on. And somebody posted the other day, somebody had placed flowers around it. So even though the statue of and it wasn't to any particular Confederate soldier, it was just in honor of all the Floridians that fought. I mean, Florida was number 3 to succeed, baby.
Yeah.
We were right behind South Carolina and hell, I don't know who number 2 was. But anyway, so we had a statue in honor of all of the Floridians that went and died. And they got rid of the statue, but they left the little plinth. And yeah, somebody had laid a wreath of flowers and a very small Confederate battle banner in front of it.
I bet you everybody went nuts.
No one said anything about it. It's like it was on the thing and everybody was like, that's nice, you know? Because here's the thing, even though Orlando is very multicultural and whatever, no one demanded that statue be taken away, except maybe a very small group of people. The vast majority of people that live in that area, which is a very wealthy part of Orlando, did not give a shit that there was a statue of a guy with a musket standing there in his freaking field hat and his sack coat jacket. You know what I'm saying? It didn't affect their life while they were jogging around the lake. And probably one guy probably got super pissed off about it and complained. And the city was just like, fine. And they didn't want to get rid of it. So they did exactly what I said. They put it like in an out of the way place. And, but they left the plinth devoted to all the young men who went and died, you know. Well, the Comanches, Overkill says, chomp, chomp the shark. The Comanches were slavers, raiders. I mean, known for grapage and kidnapping, and like they were rough, man. Like they tried to wipe the Apaches out, and the Apaches had to run and hide in the mountains because the Apaches nearly wiped them, or the Comanche nearly wiped the Apaches out. And the Apaches were no better. They were raiders and rapists and freaking thieves and murderers themselves. I mean, you know, the thing about the Indians that lived in North America, the further southwest you get, the more evil they get. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, that's a product of your environment, man. You had to do whatever you could do in living in the desert. You know what I mean? Protect your resources and everything.
Yeah,
else,
I think you're right.
know?
But like the Cherokee, who lived in this land of lush forests and mountains and hills and plentiful game and whatever, they were like, all right, we got our own written language. We live in longhouses, you know, whatever. They were nice. But then you get to the Southwest and they're eating each other. And Aztecs, you know what I mean? It gets rough real quick when you get to the South West. I mean, even the tribes we'd like to think aren't so horrible, like the Hopi and the Zuni and the Navajo. Yeah, at one time those guys were assholes. They just calmed down after, you know, the cavalry came in and told them to shut it, you know. And the first scientist that found evidence that there was cannibalistic Native American tribes, he died mysteriously in the 1930s because the Native American tribes of the region didn't want it to get out that they had been eating each other. But it got out anyway, you know, because shit gets out. You can't keep stuff secret forever. And I ain't even talking about red-headed giants running around eating people, which was a thing. Even the Mississippi civilization, which was supposedly as big as the Aztec civilization.
Wasn't that one in Missouri somewhere?
It was, the Mississippi civilization was basically all the land from the Gulf of America now around the Mississippi River all the way to Canada. It was a huge confederation, and they built massive pyramids that are the biggest pyramids on earth, but they made them out of earth, stone, not stone. They would just build these giant hills.
Right.
And they're also the ones that talk about the red-haired giants and whatever. Now in the South, you had a tribe called the Anasazi, and those guys are straight up cannibals. And eventually, most of them got wiped out by, you know, neighboring tribes that got really sick and tired of getting captured and ate. And then you got the Zuni and the Hopi that lived in the cliff villages. But they say they didn't build them. They found them. So no one knows exactly who built those cliffside villages that they used to live in. I mean, and the earthing, right? You go to the Northeast and they're wearing like buckskin pants and a leather shirt or whatever, right? You go to the Southwest and they're wearing clothes knitted from cotton or flax or whatever. You see what I mean? The guys in the Northeast are making weapons by strapping a stick and a club together. The guys in the Southeast are making weapons with obsidian and crazy shit. I mean, it's like totally different. Totally different. My great grandparents in 1880 Montana, just as great as we were. The Indian Wars, yeah. Yeah, those would have been Lakota Sioux of some type because they pretty much ran the plains. The Lakota, the Kiowa. And the thing with them is like they'll complain about how America didn't keep deals with them. But if you read history, they were constantly lying to us too. You know, they would make a deal with us to stop raiding something and then immediately turn around and do it. And it's like, well, F you guys then, you know? I mean, If you're gonna, lie to us about rating shit, don't get mad when we, put the hammer down and start raiding you. I mean, there was enough bad bullshit going on for everybody back then. And never forget, there was a time when some of the Plains tribes allied with the Mormon church to kill settlers traveling the Oregon Trail. That is a thing that truly happened. And it was so bad that the United States government declared war on the Mormons. The only religion we ever declared war on. Freaking Mormons. Brother Steve and Brother Mark and Brother Paul and all that shit, they were killing travelers going to Oregon along the Oregon Trail and then splitting or selling their goods that they had in their wagon train. You know what I mean? And then they would.
Oh, there's a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Back
These
then.
were Mormons, and I forget the tribe of Indians, but one of the Plains tribes. And they were in it together. And they were trying to make it look like it was the Indians doing it, but people found out. And then as soon as they found out that it was damn Mormons wiping people out, they rolled into Utah and put a beating on them, let them know that shit was not appreciated. And they learned. They learned the hard way. They learned, at the point of a cavalryman's saber that, you don't do that. But it's kind of crazy that we even had to do that. You know what I mean? That there was a time when we had to send military forces in to prevent a religious group from waylaying travelers along the road. Just because. I mean, yes, that's pretty wild if you think about it. So, yeah. Yes,
history is doomed to repeat itself, and I see some things coming in right now that are happening, and I'm just like, yeah, it's gonna get ugly before it gets better again, and it's just how ugly, And I think it's mainly going to happen in the larger cities. I'm going to tell you, not like Florida, large cities, maybe someplace like Miami, but I can see it in like New York, San Francisco.
Well, if it goes
stuff
really,
like
really
that.
bad, those cities will just be full of corpses within a week.
Well,
like if the trucks stop moving and the food stops getting delivered, they'll be eating.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be eating each other within 2 weeks because they just ain't got nothing else. Or they'll be leaving to
7
raid,
days you'll start,
some other town.
well, I was writing a book at one point in time. It was about the Iranians taking revenge against the United States. And what they were doing is the Iranians blew up the pipelines from Texas going up to like New York and stuff like that, so that no fuel would get up there, no gas would get up there. And it was, in the fall, and no food, no bridges, no nothing going across the Mississippi River. And all these things were being blown up. And guess what happened? People in Florida and stuff decided, well, we're not shipping our stuff up there. We're not getting what we're supposed to be getting. We're not shipping that stuff up there. And, it got ugly fast. So
it do be like that.
As a radio host here in Minnesota, says Shark, the closer you get to the nation's tallest buildings, the crazier they get.
Yeah, I think that, history, like you said, history repeats itself. But see, I'm an optimist. if there ever is like a communist revolution or something in the United States, it's guaranteed to fail. I mean, there's too many parts of the United States that would just be like, nah, we're not doing this. And so I just don't see it being a thing. What's up, RPG Grandma? How you doing? Long time no see. But
oh, Janet's here. We're gonna get it now.
Janet from the other planet. Janet, you know what they say? Men are from Mars, women are from hell. I forget who said that, like Al Bundy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Al. They couldn't
Good
make
old
that
Al.
TV show now. They couldn't even get close to making that one.
He was part of a club called No Ma'am.
Yep. No, ma'am. The Church of No Ma'am. Remember that? The skit?
Yeah.
The church?
You know what's crazy, though? I don't know if it's true or not, but he was working in the mall as a shoe salesman and yet could afford that big house in like Cleveland or wherever they were.
They were in Chicago.
Yeah.
And his wife was from Wanker County.
Wanker County.
Yep.
That ain't right. That is absolutely terrible. Hi. I grew up in Wanker County.
Yeah.
Well, that means something totally different to the British.
Well, and it's you know, way back when it was funny as hell.
Right? Oh, Al Bundy constantly retelling that time he scored 3 touchdowns.
Oh no, was it 3 or was it 4 touchdowns? I don't remember. Was it Polk High or something like that?
Yep, it was like Polk High,
Yeah.
and he scored all the touchdowns in like the championship game, and that's how he ended up with Peggy.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, the whole love and marriage. It's an institute you can't
marriage.
Right. Let me tell you, brother, you can't have one without the other. Yeah. It was like,
Who sang that? That was I remember who sang that song. I just can't remember it now. Let's see, Married with Children theme song. Frank Sinatra.
yeah, I know the song that was in a movie that I lived by. Blues Brothers Part 2, It's Cheaper to Keep Her.
Yeah.
You remember that one? It's cheaper to keep her. It's cheaper to keep her when your little girl makes you mad. Right?
Well, remember
you gotta pay the
large
house
women. There's a large women
child
that
support, alimony, palimony. He's like, you know, talking about all the shit you got to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, yeah, it's cheaper to keep her. Which is an interesting song to be singing in the middle of a strip club. But hey, you know, maybe let those guys know. You might think you want to mess around with one of these strippers, but you really don't.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. That's like girls like Tiffany and what's that saying that you don't want to mess with them because girls with Tiffany and stuff like that, certain names, it was just like, no.
You know, there's some people who absolutely believe that your birth name has some effect on your life.
Oh yeah, with Damien. The big one is Damien. And what was the
Damien,
other one?
wasn't that what they called the Antichrist in those movies?
It was.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be named Damien.
No. There is certain names that something like John Wayne Gacy and stuff like that. Wasn't it Wayne or something like that? I don't remember. It was somebody had done a study of serial killers, and if they had a certain combination of name or a certain name in it, it was like okay, you know.
Are you hungry at all?
Not really. What were you thinking?
I wasn't truly thinking. I was just trying to make sure you weren't hungry, babe.
I can order us something if you want.
She's gonna want a aged New York sirloin with.
Her choice will be Chinese or Italian, though, because that's all that delivers around here.
Oh, then I would go for the chicken parm if I was gonna do it. But
Their chicken parm is indeed delicious.
Yeah.
Yes.
And their antipasta is a nice swap up when you're tired of.
Their lasagna is excellent as well.
Oh yeah, you got the lasagna last time, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
It looked
chicken
good.
parm with some meatballs, or maybe some ravioli and meatballs or something.
They don't have what I used to go for all the time.
Which is veal.
I used to always get veal cutlets with pasta.
Oh,
But
good veal is hard to find anymore.
yeah, I think it's a cost thing. You know, they just can't even afford to, you know.
Sometimes I would go to Aldi and they had the breaded veal cutlets in the freezer. You could find them in there. It's just like, oh, I gotta grab 2-3 boxes of these and go home with them. So,
You know, that is the thing about Aldi's is you can definitely find stuff in Aldi's that you're not going to find in a Publix or a Piggly Wiggly or whatever, you know. Yeah, RPG grandma, that's a thing, and I've heard people like that were into like occultism and stuff talk about like it's because the letters in your name have numerical values and like all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
I knew this chick once and she was big time into numerology and all that. So she was always like converting my name and birthday and shit like that over and then trying to tell me what it meant. And then it turns out, I'm like, well, is that like witchcraft or what? And it turns out, no, it's Jung, the psychiatrist.
Oh,
He had a whole thing about freaking what do you call them? The archetypes of the human mind, and like if you're born during certain months, it affects certain things. I never even knew a Bible code existed. I don't see how it could exist because the original Bible was written in Koine Greek. So if they had put a code in there, they would have put it in on Koine Greek. And I don't read Koine Greek or ancient Greek.
James.
Which means, and if King James translated the Bible from Latin or Greek to English, there's no way the code could have survived that.
All right, James. Last night I made lamb shanks or lamb. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Figured out my recipe on how to do it right. I soaked them in olive oil and herbs of Provence for, I don't know, 35, 45 minutes. Threw them on the grill, super hot. Turned all the burners off except for one to very low. Left it for a half hour. Came back, turned it back up to high, finished them off. Oh my God. Let me tell you what.
When I do lamb, I usually do it in a marinade that has a lot of the herbs you probably use, but olive oil and lemon juice.
Oh, I forgot garlic.
And garlic.
It was olive oil, garlic, herbs of Provence. That's all I put on it. Let it soak for, like I said, a few hours, and then I came up and I just tossed them on the grill. It was the best lamb I've ever had, including bar none, even at a restaurant.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I do
It's
mine
like,
Greek style, so you know.
what's Greek style?
Like I said, with the citrusy,
Right.
you know, and sometimes
But do you sear them
before
in?
you put it on the grill, sometimes you dip it in the yogurt sauce. So,
Oh, okay.
you know.
Like I said, I just turned my grill up all the way to maximum and just let them sit in there for 2-3 minutes to sear the outside, and then I turned it all the way down and just let them sit there and slowly cooking their own juices and stuff. And they turned out like
RPG Grandma,
you know what I mean?
Carl Jung, who is a very, very popular psychologist / whatever he was. I think he believed that there were like 12 archetypes, and every human was somehow, you were one of those archetypes. And so you would have like the warrior, the this, the that, the other. And there were other complications on it. The only other thing I can tell you is Tool loved him because the song, what is it, 44 and 2 or whatever, was based on Jungian psychology, where he talks about his shadow and all that kind of shit. It's because Jung believed at some point we would develop 2 extra chromosomes, and it would make us like a more evolved species than what we are, because earlier species of us apparently had less chromosomes or some shit. But yeah, if you look up, he wrote a whole book called The Archetypes of Personality. If you ever listen to Jordan Peterson, just know that he is a huge fan of Carl Jung. 46 and 2, that's the one. Yep, 46 and 2 is just about Jungian philosophy. The whole song is just Jungian philosophy. Because Jung believes everything that happened to you that was negative, you push down and it becomes your shadow. And if you don't eventually confront your shadow and get control of it, it will get control of you. And that's why certain people have certain really bad character traits, because they've allowed all the trauma and all the negative everything in their life to basically take over their personality. And it's called the shadow. Yeah, he some people kind of say he's not a real psychologist, he's closer to an occultist. Other people say he is a real psychologist. I mean, it gets pretty weird. It gets pretty damn weird. But if you ever listen to the song 46 and 2, put the lyrics on so you can read it. And it's 100% just Carl Jung's beliefs, you know? And that's why the chorus is my shadow, because Maynard, the lead singer of Tool, is talking about confronting his shadow, you know, digging down beneath the meat and all that sort of shit.
Oh, my hobby was
Why would anyone care if your hubby was homeschooling?
who cares? Never did it.
I mean,
Their kids turned out just fine.
I wish I'd had the resources so that my wife could have stayed home and homeschooled. But the problem was, even when I was on the job as a firefighter, my best year was like half or a third what she makes. So it's like I could ask her to stay home and homeschool, but then our income would drop to $36,000 a year, and that would be pretty hard to manage. We'd have to move into a trailer somewhere up in the mountains, and that wouldn't work because my job wouldn't be there. So yeah, the whole situation just doesn't work. But now I have made this, and I'm going to cut it so that there's no corners on it, and then I'm going to paint it like a desert, and then I'm going to use it in a D&D game if the players are going through a desert and I need to throw this down for an encounter.
There you go. I did a bug group. They got basically run over a bunch of bugbears until the genie, a Asiatic elephant figurine of wondrous the tide of the battle, because that elephant, holy smokes, 10 hit die with 5 attacks. You know what I mean? It just stomped its way through. So
yeah, it would. I mean, those were the
well, you got to think about it. You get 5 attacks at 2d6 attack. Time. So I managed to kill 3.
Your internet is acting up. You must have a storm in your area. I know I do. You've had guys lose it when they found out you're a chick. You're RPG grandma. How could you not be a chick? Unless you were pretending, in which case that would be between you and yourself. And I would just go with what I know, Like for a while, I was like, this guy's named Bear. Does that mean he's like one of those big dudes that likes twinks? No. But I mean, even if it did, I wouldn't have like harassed him about it. Yeah, breaking hearts and yeah. Well, and everybody knows Janet. She was playing in the game the other day I watched, and she even had her elf ears on. At least, unless I was hallucinating, she had her elf ears on. I don't think I was hallucinating, but that's between my brain and whether Janet says she indeed had elf ears on. I don't know. Maybe it was my imagination. Just my imagination. See, that's one thing about me. My Gen X experience was when I was very, very young. My dad was in Vietnam, and my mom listened to all that Vietnam era war music, the Vietnam War era music. So, I'll be there, and all that shit. Yeah, that's what I grew up on. To this day, I cannot hear Fortunate Son without also hearing Huey Blades. Whoop, 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 whoop. Gnomish character. Huh. Yeah, I got 2 gnomes in my group. Gnomes are cool. And if you play them right, they're I would say even a little OP. You know, the fact that they can talk to burrowing animals, and I don't know what game Bruce is running, but in OSC, Gnome's got like a freaking 90-foot dark vision. They're the only playable race that does. So it's like, is that a misprint, or is that just something they decided gnomes needed to have? Grew up with that, yeah. Yeah, so because my mom was a young, pregnant. I'd been born, obviously, but she was and she was being the dutiful wife and listening to all that kind of, pop music. And I like to think, hoping that my biological dad would come home. And he did, but he came home so broken that they couldn't be a couple anymore. Because, yeah, he was just broken. I would say it's really sad, but, And yeah, ended up splitting up, and I barely saw him after that. I never even got a happy birthday card or a Merry Christmas card, not a single present, nothing from that man my whole life. It's so weird because it's like, I know like genetically I'm related to this guy, but I have no feelings at all. You know what I mean? Plus, I don't look anything like him, but Hungar does. If you imagine, like when I wear the shirt with Hungar with the fro, imagine kind of like that. And he was really little. He was like 5'5", 5'6". I remember one time he got up to 180 pounds. And my mom told him that if he didn't lose that damn weight, he might as well just stay in Vietnam because he's getting fat. Because his average weight was like 140. And I'm just like, damn, man. 140. I was 160 when I was 16 years old. 160 pounds, I was the guy that was always getting tape tested by the damn medics. Because I always weighed about 20 pounds more than I was supposed to for my weight. Yeah, it sucks, man, And I mean, to take it back to Maynard, that's what he was talking about when he's talking about the shadow. Like the pain from that, which I have never really dealt with and probably should at some point, Of course, the thing is, my mom eventually met my pops, who you've heard me talk about, the Russian Jewish guy. And he was so good to me and my brother and sister. And so in my mind, he is my dad. And no one could ever convince me otherwise. He was the one that was always there. And, he's the one that I remember one of the proudest times of my life. I'd come back from the war and I was showing some of the medals I'd got awarded while I was over there and my CIB and shit like that. And he just looked at me with tears in his eyes and he said, "Boy, you're a mensch." And I was so proud, to be a mensch. Because I was just like, wow, Unless you're Jewish, you probably won't understand any of what I just said. or unless you were raised Jewish or around Jews or know anything about Yiddish or whatever. But I can clue you in. A Mensch is a man. That's all Mensch really means, man in German, right? But amongst a lot of Jewish things, it has a very significant subtext. When you call someone a Mensch, you're saying that they're a man. You know what I mean? They're a man. And what do we know about a man? Well, you can trust him. You can take his word as his bond. He's not going to screw you over, etc. All kinds of shit like that, right? So it's not like just saying, boy, you're a man. Because, I mean, you know, when you call a Mensch, there's a lot of underlying stuff going on there, you know. Yeah, holding grudges sucks. I mean, you know, it's the worst thing you can do for you. Yeah, but what I mean is, if I say Mensch, some people might think, especially if they speak German, I just mean man. But in Hebrew, or not Hebrew, in Yiddish, in the Jewish community, which I was part of, calling someone a Mensch meant like 100 things, all positive. Like, if you were a boy, you had to work your ass off to be a Mensch. And to have your father tell you, boy, you're a Mensch, is like, I mean, it's like having your dad tell you you're like a superhero almost, you know? He's telling you that you are just a very positive, very good member of the community, society at large, someone to be proud of, etc. And he was always proud of me. I mean, my pops just never shut up about me. And, you know, my boy's in the desert, my boy's this, my boy's that, with this Queen's accent. Yeah, Yiddish is way different than German, but it borrows a lot of words. So, like, Mensch is a German word. Thus, when you read Nietzsche, he wrote Das Übermensch, and it means the Superman, right? But like I'm saying, it means something different in Yiddish, even though it's a loan word from Germany. But yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, and you're right too, because I mean, you're not wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong at all, RPG Grandma, because the community that I knew were all Russian. Actually, they were Russian, but the part of land they're from is now Ukraine. The Donbass region is where their village was. But back then, they were Russian. And then when the commies took over, Ukraine tried to become independent, but the commies took them over. But what happened is, because my great whatever grandparents were kulaks, as you know, the tankies would call them, they fled. They sold everything and fled. As soon as they saw the way shit was going, they fled out of, they got the hell out of Dodge, and made it to America, where their name was changed from the Russian pronunciation to Simonson. And then even later, Simons or Simmons. Oh, yeah. My grandma was weird. Like, under no circumstances would you ever mix meat and dairy. That was just not done. And you would catch hell if you even, just don't even think about it. There's not going to be any pepperoni pizza for you. Don't even dream of it. But she'd eat a pork roast every now and then. You know what I mean? It is. And like, what am I going to do? Tell a 90-year-old woman she can't have a pork roast if she wants? But yeah. she had 2 sets of plates, so that one plate was dairy stuff went on, and the other plate was meat. The sets. She was really like into that. What's up, Doc? How you doing, homie? Doc, I spent most of the morning cleaning runny dog poop out of a Roomba. That's what's up with me. Well, one thing you'll notice, and I mean, you might remember that I'm Russian Orthodox now. I converted. Russian Orthodoxy looks a lot like ancient Judaism in the way we do certain things. Like if you looked at the ancient Jewish priests, the way they would wear, you know, the black and the scarf and stuff, and then you look at Orthodox priests, they kind of dress the same way because the Orthodox Church considers itself the continuation of the Israelites. So I told you, I spent most of the morning cleaning runny dog poop out of a Roomba because my dog decided to have diarrhea, and then the Roomba decided to activate and run over it. Well, our Roomba is automatic, you know, it like wakes up in the morning and just does its thing. So, right. I love it because our palm, unlike our last palm, this guy, you can actually watch as he's laying sleeping and see the white puffs of fur just drip away. It is like, how is this possible? My wife will brush him and get like a second palm. You know what I mean? But something he ate the other day made him really sick, and he did what sick dogs do. And I had to take the Roomba apart and use a toothpick to get in all the grooves, get every. I had gloves and stuff. Don't worry, you know. The new ones, like I've got the one that will pick everything up and then go unload itself. They work great. Yeah, it's got like a dock where it'll back up to and unload, and also it can stop at the dock to recharge. Yeah, I mean the option Six Nations was to just throw it away and buy a new one. But that's not really an option because I mean it's not like we have, you know, that kind of money laying around. And we're like, you know, hey, you know, you got $300 just laying around to blow on a freaking Roomba because the dog pooped all in it. So there I am. That's why my wife keeps me around, because like any kind of bodily fluids or excretions really messes with her. You know what I mean? Pretty much. Oh yeah. That was my strong point. I remember my first day on, they sent me to like the worst call ever. And I didn't throw up, but some of the dudes that had been there 10 years did. And that's kind of when they knew I was going to be okay. You know, they're like, it was an old lady who had OD'd and had an upper and lower GI bleed and had puked and diarrheaed all over the place on a couch. I'm looking at you.
I ordered you spaghetti meatballs.
You ordered. Okay. All right. Have it your way. You're
Well, honey,
you know,
you're busy.
you're the king.
This way the food is already on its way.
All right. Well, that'll be interesting.
Spaghetti meatballs.
No, I do. I'm just saying that's cool.
Okay.
Poor Doc. Yikes. I don't notice anything, so if there's something going on with him, I didn't notice it. My shadow, digging down in shadow. Right. All right. There's Doc again. I mean, he sounded fine to me, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you're there. I see you. You're not, you know. So if somebody's saying that you're not showing up or something, I don't know what they're talking about. Oh, oh, okay. Well, well, you know, you all have the option to watch on Rumble and subscribe because this is being broadcast on Rumble as well as Twitch, and I usually only do Twitch when I'm wearing my Trump hat because it's funny to see people pop in and immediately leave. And I know that it's probably Twitch users that pop in wondering what I'm talking about. And as soon as they see the black MAGA hat, they're like, run, it's a vampire, you know? And I don't know, something about that kind of tickles me a little bit, you know? It just makes me feel kind of happy. But I've told you guys, I'm not a good person. I actually enjoy the suffering of others. Right? So that's caused some troubles with me in relationships. Because, you know, you got to find a special woman that's into all that shit. Not that I'm trying to overshare, I'm just saying. Or find a woman that's not into all that shit and tells you to calm the hell down. And that's more my story. You know, like find a good girl that's going to be like, okay, so Doc is sharing a screen. Oh, maybe you're just too handsome for Facebook to handle. Like you popped on and they're just like, we just can't handle the handsomeness of this guy. You know? I mean, look at this guy. Like, yeah, me too. Except when I say cut my hair, I mean go in the bathroom and shave it. Sometimes just to freak people out, I leave the front knot on. And people are like, why did you do that? And I'm like, that's the way the Allens used to wear their hair back in, you know, the Roman age. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes. So, yeah, sometimes I cut my hair the way ancient Germanic tribes used to do it. My wife is not a fan, but she tolerates me for some reason. So, yeah. All right. Painting these rocks. Painting these rocks a barnyard red. And then I'm going to go over them with probably some light rust, which is more of an orange. Right now, I have decided to paint this terrain piece. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a piece. I can store it right there. I can break it out for my D&D games or Traveler or Starfront. Actually, anywhere that the players end up in a desert and I want to do a combat that involves, some rocks. If we play Dune, it could be, a place they're hiding from the worms. Because let me tell you, Shia it's not to be messed with. That's why you got to say the prayer. It's like, you know, blessed be his water, blessed be his coming and going. Yeah, I don't care for that either, and I don't know why they did that. In the video game, the worms look like the Peter or the David Lynch worms. They have like the triangular, it opens up and there's like just rows of teeth all the way as far down as see, I've got a special um achievement iron called The Worm Looks at You. And that is because I was harvesting something and the worm come to get me and I made it to the rocks a split second before the worm could kill me. So when I turned around, the worm was literally just looking at me. It was just looking, and then it turned and went away, and then it said, "You've unlocked the worm looks at you." I was like, "All right." I've also unlocked the worm eats you a number of times too. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's an MMO in that there's stories and you can group and be in a guild and do all kinds of shit. But I will say that I spend 90% of my time alone. And it's just because of the play times and stuff. Like if my brother or my other brother that I play with were to message me and be like, um, you know, oh, okay, catch you later. I need help with something, I'd be right there. I'd be in the ornithopter and on the way. But yeah. And the old city that the Harkonnens ruled from, Carthage, is not there. So the Harkonnen are actually ruling their parts from Harko village. And the Beast Raban is trying to build New Carthage. But according to what I heard from Peter DeVry, the twisted mentat that works for the Baron, he is way, way over budget and over time. And he's trying to hide that fact from his uncle. And as a result, he's using slavers to kidnap people, and he's working them 16 to 20 hours a day or until they die. You do not have to work for a faction. You can just not be in a faction. If you want to be a Bene Gesserit, you have to start out as a woman. But once you begin play, if you can find the Bene Gesserit sister where she is, she will teach you some of the minor Bene Gesserit powers, like the voice and shit like that. There's multiple like classes, I guess, and each class gives you abilities that you can put on your hotbar. So far for me, my favorite classes have been Trooper, Swordmaster, and Mentat. Each one of those has like some crazy ability that's just really cool. Like Right. David Lynch's movie, if you ignore the graphics, the vehicles, etc., is the superior Dune movie. But you have to ignore the sound things, and because that's just stupid. But compared to the Villeneuve movies, they're all like bluster and show. You know what I mean? But they're afraid to really get into it. Like the fact that they keep calling Paul's wars crusades, even though they were not crusades, they were jihads. Because the Orange Catholic Bible is a mostly Islamic, but with some Christian tinges, religion. And the Fremen were Zen Sunni mystics. So they were Zen and Muslim, Sunni brand, right? And they had gotten chased off of Earth because I guess in the end the Shiites won. So the Sunni had to bail ass out of Dodge or whatever was going on, right? Somehow Orthodox Christianity and Judaism still exist in the universe, but they're much smaller religions. Regardless, in Dune Awakens, and I think I told you this, Paul Atreides willed himself not to be born. So instead of giving birth to Paul, Lady Jessica gave birth to a daughter who they named Aristide. And because she did what the Bene Gesserit sisterhood wanted her to do, they continued her training instead of kind of disowning her. And she was raised from the rank of sister to the rank of truthsayer, right? Because she learned everything that you need to learn to be a truthsayer, she immediately saw through Dr. Yui's plot. Yeah, Duke Leto is still alive. Jessica's still alive. Aristide's still alive. They're talking about marrying her off to Fade Rotha. You know, but the problem was because the Harkonnens attacked Erskine and lost, including the Sardaukar, because the Atreides were ready for them. The Emperor declared a genocide on the Fremen, and he wiped them all off. So I've been playing the game for hundreds of hours. I've yet to see a Fremen. Now, they might still be somewhere out in the deep desert or some shit. I don't know. But they're not around. You can't play one. And the Sardaukar continue to patrol Arrakis, looking for Fremen, right? Oh, it might have sent the code to me, Daryl, so that I can verify that I want you to follow me. That's weird. But anyway, so there was this big war going on Arrakis, right? Between the Harkonnens and the Atreides and ostensibly the Empire. And a lot of minor houses and major houses of the Landsraad were getting involved. It's starting to get way out of hand. So the Emperor called an end to all that shit. And he basically gave the Harkonnens their chunk, which they rule from Harko Village. The Atreides still rule their chunk from Erskine. And instead of a full-blown war, you live under what they call the War of Assassins or the War of Canley. So if you're playing the game and you go to certain areas and you're affiliated with a house or other, you can get involved in PvP. Like me, I'm as high of an agent of House Harkonnen as you can be. And I'm constantly being sent out by Peter DeVries, the frickin' Mentat, that works for the Baron to kill people and things and whatever, you know, plant bombs and blow shit up and sabotage shit. So why did I pick Harkonnen? Because I like the looks of them better. That's basically it. And also, even though the Harkonnens are the bad guys, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they're pretty bad, right? They're not much more bad than the Atreides. Right. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's two, well, many, many more than two, but let's just say two. It's two feudal houses duking it out over a resource. And the third big feudal house, that's all of their bosses, has told them they can't do it out in the open. They're allowed to kill each other, but they got to keep that shit on the DL, right? So that's the world you live in. Where, like, I had a mission where I had to sneak into a PvP Atreides base and send a hunter killer, which I had to guide, into the base to find an informant and kill him, which I did. Yeah. Send it in, and when I had the target, you hit the Q button, it causes it to do the zip. Because you know how it moves kind of slow, but then when you got the target, you hit the Q button and it goes zip. And then whoever you hit's got a dose of, you know, choma poison, which is absolutely lethal. And was invented actually by Thufir Hywit, but it's so good that, you know, everybody uses it now. But yeah, I've met Thufir. He told me to go get effed. Well, he recognized I was a Harkonnen agent like right away. I walked up to talk to him, and he's like, "Look, I don't deal with Harkonnen sympathizers. I suggest you leave before I am forced to call the guard." And I about faced and got the hell out of there, because I don't know what would have happened if he had been forced to call the guard, but I didn't want to know either, you know? Okay. This is coming along pretty good. I'm going to have to lighten up some places and do some things, but so far, I mean, you can tell where I'm going to have to neaten it up around the rocks, but that kind of reddish stone, I'm kind of digging. You know what I mean? I think when I put a little bit of rust on it, it's gonna have that cool, you know, windswept, rocky look, you know, possibly with a lot of iron deposit in it, you know, sticking up out of the sand. And then of course I've got the rough terrain where I glued sand down. So yeah. If I say so myself, this is looking pretty good. And you know, that's what's important, is that I think it's looking really good. And my players, I mean, they don't paint or anything. So pretty much anything I do looks good to them. You know, they're like, "Oh my God, that's so awesome." And I'm like, "I don't think that's really a great paint job, but hey, if you're happy with it, then works for me." These rocks, and you can see there's like natural staircases on them. Some of them, they were 3D printed on a FDM printer, an Elgu FDM printer, because I mean, I could probably have printed like this smaller one, but I mean, resin printers are so expensive, and because the resin can be quite expensive compared to filament, and filament FDM, you can get really strong filament, like that's like, you know, strengthened with like whatever. So you can actually 3D print stuff that you could then go out and use outside for stuff. So she's got a heart of gold. She never let me down. That'd change if she ever found out about you and I. Oh, but her love is cold. Would it hurt her if she didn't know? Because when the feeling, I need to feel your touch. I need to run to you. Need to run to you. That's right. You guys get a free sampling of my stylings as Bryan Adams. When the feeling's right, I'm gonna run all night. I'm gonna run to you. Bryan Adams, I think, used to kick ass. Something me and Bear sometimes disagree on, but hey, you know, he's a Canadian. Bryan Adams is a Canadian. Six Nations, it would be easy for you to do exactly that. I got my first 3D printer years ago. It was a Mars 1, so the very first one they ever made. And since then, it's just been nonstop. You know, like every time there's an upgrade or something, upgrading. Also, you know, buying the thing, saying, I'm not, if I buy this thing, I'll never have to buy miniatures again. No. You still buy a ton of miniatures. The difference is that, you know, you also print a ton of miniatures.
Can I interest you in some food, my love?
You can interest me in some food. I was hanging out with Doc. Oh, Doc's back. Great. Doc, I hope you got some good stuff in the mail because my food just arrived. Age of Blood and Iron core rulebook. Nice. I will send it to you on Discord because I have you on Discord. And everyone else who stuck with us all this time, hey, peace and love. I hope you had some fun. And